Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pylon Show. I am Artosis, joined by Pig and No Regret. Thank you guys, first off, so much for coming on, because WCS Montreal starts in, a day or something? So it is, you guys are going out of your way. You're in, hotel rooms and stuff. Jake, you're visiting family. So thank you guys for joining me here today. I really appreciate it. And how are you doing, Pig? That looks like a mighty fine hotel room.
Yeah, it's not bad. I'm kind of realizing how dark it is, and I'm gonna do some magic. We're gonna do some magic. Look at that.
God.
A little bit of light. Little bit of light on my face, just so you
looks
guys
just
can.
Looks just as good as your stream at home. So thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for taking the time.
The background looks a bit nicer,
though. The two laptops set up here, just got to make sure one can run the audio, one can run the video. But no, it's going to be good, man. I'm in Montreal. I've already been exploring and hanging out with some Canadians. So looking forward to the event and talking about it with you guys.
Excellent. That will be, of course, the focus of the show. No Regret, you are over visiting family. I take it right before Montreal. I can tell because behind you looks exactly like my mom's house.
Yep, that's exactly it.
I can't wait.
I don't decorate it.
Yeah, it's like everyone's mom's house looks exactly the same. I can't wait in about 10 years to see if my house looks like that.
It will. I'm sure it will.
But you're going as a competitor here to Montreal?
Yeah, competitor, content creator. I think I'm just playing for fun, but mostly going to focus on the videos and stuff.
Well, I mean, is there any word on how many Codes Zergs are going to be playing in the tournament?
A couple at least. I mean, we got Sorta. Actually, Sorta's not going to be there. I think me, Xanster, and Scarlet.
So
that's
only 3 Codes Zergs.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. Well,
I guess True too.
There you go. Yeah, he's been quite. Well, we'll get into WCS Montreal pretty quickly, but first, of course, we got to do the proper opening of the show. A big thanks to our sponsors with AFKT.com. You can use Pylon for 15% off. It's really fantastic tea, but I do have a quick question. I don't know if you guys know the answer. Is it safe to drink dust? Because I made my tea this morning, and then I looked in it, and everything
You're probably dead. I mean,
dust. So I'm like, ooh, this cup was actually very dusty before I poured it in.
I think you're pretty much a goner already, to be honest.
I think if Starcraft has probably given you the power. If you can chow down through so many salty engagements and DTs killing your workers in Brood War and stuff, I think you can handle a little bit of dust, Dan. I think you'll be right.
As Nice Username has shown us, I can't really handle those things that well, to be honest. But the dust is okay. The tea still tastes fantastic. Check out AFKT.com. And of course, Matcherino. Matcherino.com/Pylon Show. You can use the code this week. It's cheese. And if you want to buy things like voice packs or cups or shirts or anything like that, you can definitely check it out. They've been supporting us a lot, so it is very much appreciated. Of course, we've already gone through who these guys are. So on to this week in StarCraft. We're going to try to do it very quickly, except when something super interesting pops up. Because we are getting so many submissions at this point, so it'll just be a quick shout out to various things. But the first thing we'll spend just an extra minute on here, the StarCraft 2 was in the Asia Games, and we actually have the commentator for that right here in No Regret.
Yeah.
How was that? How was that whole deal? Can you tell us some about the tournament?
It was really good. The tournament was really good. I mean, kind of was expected. You could really easily predict the results of everything. There was huge mismatches throughout the entire thing. But I thought even though there was massive mismatches, there was some really fun games, especially some guy named Strike and Maru. There was a moment in time where Maru was definitely sweating. He was going to die. I mean, he was going battle cruisers and stuff, but still. There was this tiny little moment where he's about to die to some guy named Strike. And then Mio Micah did some 2-base Spire build against Nice and beat him. There was just some crazy things throughout the tournament. It was a lot of fun though. It was my first event outside of Korea.
Yeah.
So it was a really interesting, experience. I flew in the night before, and then we had a rehearsal at 9 p.m. that night where I flew in.
Oh,
and then we started at 9 a.m. the next day. And then it ended at 8 p.m. and I got on my flight at midnight. So I was literally there
for a day?
I was literally there for a day. like rehearsal was the same day I flew in, and then the tournament, and then I left the same day of the tournament.
I mean, I've done some crazy stuff like that. Why didn't you stay an extra day or something?
Like the flights back to Toronto were ridiculous. Like I took a 6-hour flight to Manila and then a 15-hour flight from Manila to Toronto, but they upgraded me to business class. So the 15-hour flight was a business class flight. Oh my God, it was so amazing. Oh, and the first flight was so bad.
Did you pull your monocle out and you're like,
oh yeah. All the peasants were getting on and turning back to the back of the plane. I'm like, aha. Sitting in the front with my like 6 or 7 other people getting champagne.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on that, and congratulations to Maru for winning that pretty handily. There was a lot of hype. Everyone, it was kind of funny. I went into Africa the next day, and everyone was kind of excited. Maru won, and I'm like, sitting there. The thing is, I didn't want to destroy the fun everyone was having that won at the Asia Games, right? But I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I have to say this. This was probably the easiest tournament he's ever played. Yeah. So
there was a ton of like Korean fans there too. Like, it was like, please let Maru win. Like, you know what I mean? Like they were there, like with their huge signs, like I don't know. It was just surprising how little faith they had in Maru.
I mean, I get you gotta give it for the, it's the cultural significance, right? I mean, I'm sure the Asian Games is something we're not as into, but but it's pretty big. I think the sad news, I don't know if you guys saw, someone was bringing it up. I think it was Wax was saying that gold medal winners in the Asian indoor games or the Asian Games actually get their military service. They don't have to do it, but then obviously it was only an exhibition. Kind of what was like a trial for esports, something like that. It wasn't like fully official, so Maru still has to go to the army at some point.
It was like the esports demonstration event is what it was called. When it was first announced, a lot of the Koreans were like really like serious about it because they're like, oh, like if we win, we don't have to go to the military.
Yeah,
and, like a lot of them were like that, and then eventually, I think most people came to realize that was not going to happen. I don't know if Maru already was like committed to doing it afterwards or what, but it was probably worth it for him to go anyways and do it and represent his country.
Well, that's like super cool as far as like I did this, right?
Yeah, I got a medal, like a gold medal, so
Yeah, and I don't know if he won prize money, but just that medal in general is pretty neat. All right, so that was the SC2 Asia Games. On to the next thing, Home Story Cup XVIII. That's 18. Damn. That is a lot of Home Story Cups. That is coming right up, and it's going to be November 22nd through 25th. Of course, Take TV throwing that on. You can check that out on Wikipedia and everything. I mean, it's the Home Story Cup. What more can you say? We'll be going over that more in depth as it occurs. One of the most fun tournaments out there, without any doubt. All right. The Clash Invitational is still occurring right now. And it looks like we have some locks overall. It looks like Alisaunder has locked getting out of the group and most likely will be first place. He's still 6-0 with 18-4 in maps. Cyril, 6-0, 18-1. Holy crap. Second place in his group is Hellraiser with 14-10. 18-1 versus 14-10 in second place. Does anyone care to have a comment on that? There's nothing to be said that hasn't already been said about this kid.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, definitely check out the Clash Invitational. They've been doing some cool little things, like giving a coaching session to a Team Pro player. It looks like Pub Cracker won, and I mean, it's been going really, really well, it seems, and very interesting to see some of these new players. Some new players rising up like Hellraiser. We've seen his name popping up a lot, but the fact that he might get second place in that group is pretty astounding.
It's a little surprising to see DNS at the very bottom with 4-18. I feel like that's a little bit more surprising than, Cyril being first or whatever. And Hellraiser being second is surprising, but DNS was a huge, oh, he's going to be the best. He's going to be the next Showtime or whatever, and now he's at the bottom. So it's a little
after that Korea stint, we had we definitely were kind of like, hey, he's getting that stage experience, right?
Yeah,
the whole discussion was that he would often choke on stage, and then he started to have some really nice performances. But Last few tournaments, he's really been on struggle street. I'm not sure if it's maybe, sometimes balance changes, throw a player through a loop, like the design of a matchup changes, and they just can't get past that. So maybe he's just struggling in PvZ, because that's all you need to have that one matchup, your versus Zerg. If that's struggling in Europe, you're in trouble.
Well, especially in this tournament. I mean, his group is 2 other Protoss and then all Zergs, so
in
I
fact,
guess it's not that surprising.
Top 4 is going to be 100% Zergs unless Hellraiser continues to carry the torch and goes forward. So, wow. Okay, so moving on to the next thing. BTSL, Korea and NA. Of course, that's a base trade TV Star League. And they've been doing the BTSL Amateur recently. You can definitely check out everything that Base Trade TV is up to on their Twitch channel. Everyone knows that. I mean, if you're watching the Pylon Show, you already know what Base Trade TV is. Follow Rifkin, follow Base Trade TV. And you can check it all out on the Team Liquid forums as well as Liquipedia for more information on that.
Editor's note here, we have very detailed show notes. Just check them out, exclamation notes in chat, or they'll be linked in the YouTube VOD, and they'll have links for the Matcherino and everything possible you could want for a detail on any of it. Yeah,
in fact, I feel bad doing such a quick job on this, but these show notes are so well done. It's insane. So a big shout out to Alisaunder for helping out there. You can give her a follow on Twitter. It's Daisy Min, DAISEMIIN. She's been helping out with those show notes, and they look fantastic. It's ridiculous. There's so much information in there. But we have so many people submitting now. Just got to kind of run through a little bit more quickly. Okay, the Wardy TV Summer Championship. Well, the Wardy TV Summer Championship will see a European server and a Korean server play-in tournament lead into the grand final event. 1-versus-1 group stage single elimination bracket. Prize pool is $700. So not too bad. Definitely check that out. You can follow everything Wardy does at wardy.tv. That's just one eye on that. I know it gets confusing how many eyes he's using in various places. All right, the SCV Rush weekly tournaments. They have 3 tournaments a week, the Bronze through Diamond 3 every Monday, an open tournament with a $20 prize pool and OSC points every Tuesday, and a Bronze through Master 3 tournament every Wednesday. You can find out all of their tournaments on scvrush.challenge.com. We have the Gauntlet Global Open number 57. It's by Falcon Paladin and Gauntlet SC2. The Gauntlet Global Open continues this Sunday, September 9th on a new channel and at a new time. Falcon Paladin Hour is now sponsoring the event going forward. The prize pool has been increased by double and will now have a prize pool of $100. The tournament will also be moved to 2 hours later to 8 p.m. EST from now on. So you can check that out at their challenge page, which is sc2.challenge.com. Official stream will be on Just Jordan on Twitch TV with the silent X's all over the place.
That's really cool. Falcon Paladin, for anyone who doesn't know, is kind of like our new Husky Starcraft, is how I like to describe him. Daily, I think he does 2 daily YouTube casts, or he was for a very long time. I'm pretty sure he's still doing it. And Falcon Paladin Hour is his weekly podcast as well. So, cool dude.
Yeah, definitely I hear his name pop up a lot of the time. Whenever there's a Reddit thread, oh, who should I watch for videos? He has some hardcore people that are always like, hey, Falcon Paladin's putting in the hours. You can kind of see that there. All right, the Pizza Pie Weekly, number 38. We already know all about this tournament, of course. Well, it's actually a bi-weekly tournament. I always call it the weekly, but it's bi-weekly. It's open to anyone who likes pizza, Bronze through Grandmaster, but you have to be in the U.S. So sorry about that. It's every Sunday starting June 24th. Well, that's already occurred, but that's at 23 GMT. Check-in starts 30 minutes prior. You win, and you win a pizza. It'll be delivered to your house, which is pretty sick. They don't track that on esportsearnings.com, but that's a legit prize right there. It's something you can definitely show your mom. You provide pizza for the family that evening, and she's like, wow, I want you playing more of those video games. So definitely check that out, all-inspiration.challenge.com, where you can follow Uncommon Gaming on Twitch or Twitter. All right, incoming transmission from Nice Username. He's been pretty busy lately, hasn't he, guys? He has released on Friday an the Incoming Transmission Show, which is a long, in-depth interview series. It's number 15 with Daniel Pirate Altman, who won Blizzard's RTC 2015 contest, and he's a premium arcade developer. We have a few premium arcade maps out there. And he's won actually several $1,000s from map editor contests. So very cool stuff. Number 16 is going to be with Zombie Grub, and that looks like it might already be out. I think he's probably already filmed it at this point. Of course, another thing from Nice Username. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there is a little compilation video about how much I love Starcraft. People seem to enjoy that video. I felt pretty cringy watching it, but definitely check that out at Nice Username's Twitter.
Raw, unadulterated passion is the way I would describe that video. It was beautiful, and it's the most relatable part of StarCraft as well. We all know that.
The anger. Sure. All right. Now, Inside the Scene. This is an ESChamp thing. You can look at eschamp.com/inside the scene. Those ESChamp guys have been doing so much, making a lot of really fantastic content. Of course, they had just made that interview with some of the women in our community, which you can definitely check out. Drexama did that interview with them, and I believe Ender Sword did as well. And just a little note about them. Inside the Scene is a show where we mine for insights to make your StarCraft life easier. Each week, we invite guests to go over replays during various segments to break down and analyze. And it looks like their next show is going to be taking the mystery out of designing StarCraft cosplay. They're going to talk to DeBoy and Red Rock Cosplay. So definitely check that out. It looks like a really good show. And they have a lot of good ideas for their content overall. I've really been, every week that I hear about like what ESChamp is doing, I'm like, oh, damn, I wish we did that. That's a really good idea. But it looks like they're doing a great job, so definitely give them a look. All right, Neuro had a unit management class. Apparently, he had like 6,700 viewers. It was highlighted by Blizzard. It was, I was looking at the class notes for it. Neuro continues to be one of my very favorite people in this StarCraft scene. It is just really, really well done stuff. He has some previous classes as well on his YouTube. And these, it looks like this is kind of stuff for players of all levels, but definitely if you are a newer player, this is something you're definitely going to want to look at. Of course, alongside all of Pig's content that he does make. So definitely some great stuff. Check out Neuro. He's twitch.tv/Neuro. Neurozorg on Twitter. He's got a Patreon account as well. Just use that Google search engine. It's pretty good at finding that stuff. All right. This is kind of an interesting thing to have on here. Crank TV interview with TY. It's in Korean, but if you're watching and you speak Korean, well, you should probably be watching Korean first and then this show, right? Because he's got the inside scoop with all the Korean stuff going on. It is Korean language, but if you speak Korean, go ahead and check it out on Crank TV. Okay. Please pause live. This is Cyan's show, WCS Montreal Preview news show with Zombie Grub and Fear Dragon. So he did with Zombie Grub and Fear Dragon what we will be doing today. So pretty awesome that he's got a little show that he's doing live. It looks like he has two different shows. Please Pause, which is a short-form YouTube talk show that recaps the news of the week. And some opinion from Cyan, and that's normally a very small, like 5-minute video. And then he's got Please Pause Live. It's a longer talk show which focuses on community interaction, streamed on Twitch, and looks like Cyan takes call-ins from fans and personalities alike to discuss and debate the news and the issues in the scene. And I gotta say, it's pretty awesome that like we have all these different shows right now in the StarCraft community. I'm starting to get a little bit worried because their names are so much better than the Pylon Show. Who the fuck thought of that? That is a terrible name in Control. Please Pause, though. That's great. That's like what Koreans type when they have to pause the game. PP. No, I like the Pylon Show. I'm just kidding. Anyways, on to a few general things that have occurred this week. The 8-year GSL anniversary was 2 days ago. 8 years, boys. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy. Also, Kelliger joins Panda Global. So even though he announces like a semi-retirement, that he's not going to be playing as seriously now, right? He joins Panda.
Yeah.
I guess we shouldn't use the word retirement because he was very specific that it's a move to studying full time. So he's still going to compete. So the focus is moving, but he's still going to play tournaments. But yeah,
Okay.
It's not retirement. It's just I'm going to be focusing on only school and play StarCraft.
What do you guys think about this though? There's a 6-month delay in my mind. Whenever a pro says they're quitting or stepping back, where they like get better because they have zero pressure on them for like the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And then the lack of intense practice starts to actually affect them, and that you start to see their results drop significantly. But I think he could still have a really strong start to 2019.
I agree with your assessment 100%. When they take that pressure off of themselves, it definitely does help. And also, anytime anyone says that they're retiring, that's when I know for certain that they are not. Because if you're really retiring, you just kind of fade away. Can you remember the people that just faded away? No, because they're actually gone. Can you remember all these people that said that they were retiring? Yes, because they still play.
MC retired 8 times, right?
Yeah, and wasn't he streaming recently? I don't know.
I know he's actually like moved to the Europe. I think he moved to the Netherlands to do school there. So he's definitely taking it, more serious.
Well, that's going to be good practice too, though. His TVZ is going to get really good. All right. Solar joins Infinity Gaming. He did leave Splice, so Splice down to just 2 members, but it looks like Infinity Gaming picks up a fantastic player. And as far as Solar goes, hold on, let me check real quick. Solar still has a shot at BlizzCon. Just throwing that out there. So good pickup right there. Maybe he'll be able to make it. All right. How esports pros make a career playing video games. Globalnews.ca. I think that's one of your big websites, isn't it, Jake, up in Canada? Global News?
Yeah, it sounds pretty big.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
It's Global News, man. So
it's got to be pretty big.
So I'm sure that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. It is pretty big. It's pretty big.
Yeah. Okay. Well, apparently there's an article there about Starcraft, LOL, and Dota.
Oh, God. They capitalized the S? Oh, no. How old are they?
Oh, in esports? Oh, jeez. This is the thing I care least about.
Someone needs to flash the red eye sign up into the sky with the flashlight. He kind of swoops in with a cape and just punches the person in the face, writes an angry tweet, and then teleports out of there.
Yeah.
One capital S at a time. We've got to clean this up, man.
Well, guys, check that out at globalnews.ca. All right, from Toland's Lions, it's Scarlett's new team. New team name and an interview. So you can check that out, tolandslions.com. By the way, when that happened, right, that's like just Team Expert rebranded. Yeah.
It's just like the sponsor list, Ace or whatever.
Yeah. I find it a little bit annoying when that happens, because like suddenly it like shows up in my feed and I'm like, I didn't follow this. What the hell is this? And it takes me a long time to figure out what's going on, because I'm like, if the overlords at Google made me follow this, there must be a good reason. So I gotta look. Right. Anyways, Kim Coach 815 Kwangbok will join the Overwatch League. Oh, I heard some things about this. Is this actually the Pro Gamer 815? I don't know if you guys would know who that is. That was
I have no idea.
Way back in the day, but I've heard that he's a very good coach, so I guess good for him. And if it's in the StarCraft news, it must be a StarCraft player. Okay. And it looks like the Korea Times has also published an article. Professional gamers' dream job for many amid esports boom. The average annual salary of pro gamers was about 98 million won, $88,000, according to 2017 data. Okay, I think that is not talking about StarCraft, but
no. I don't think that's talking really about the B teamers on any team. That's a big number. That's like, especially, this is, I mean, Korea's not a cheap country, but it's also not like you're living in Sweden.
I remember like the KSL players, I think they're starting, well, not the starting or the upper salaries are like 70 million or 80 million won a year. So, that's a little bit unreasonable. Unless we're talking like prize money, then maybe I can believe it. But if they're just talking about team salaries,
prize money, it's different. But salary is just not.
Yeah.
Not that, I'm sure it's like LOL players or something. They probably make that much.
Yeah, it's probably. Yeah. It's interesting because things have definitely grown a ton, and I know salaries have gotten so much better in the last 5-6 years. It's insane. But I'm still like super cynical at like every statistic unless I can actually see where they come from. I'm like, did you count the pros at this level, or is it only above a certain level? But I think overall we can definitely say the whole idea of like, is it attractive? Is it growing? Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So as cynical as I am, I definitely think there is an esports boom at the moment for sure.
For the amount it's growing, I don't think the salaries are growing by. If anything, they're stagnating or going down. I think like if you compare the salaries from before, like. The old Brood War salaries, the StarCraft 2, early StarCraft 2 salaries, those are the same, if not just as good as some of these League of Legends, like really high paying. Well, except for like Faker, like the massive people, but you know what I mean? Like Huck's transfer salary was insane from Liquid and EG, and we don't hear about that kind of stuff anymore for any esports, really.
I would disagree. I actually think that in Counter-Strike and LoL and and Dota,
those are
salaries are
basically all the games that aren't our game.
Yeah.
The
ones with very good in-game market and hats and things you can buy for your character that has the logo of the pro on it.
Yeah. So what you're saying is if we could use skins in tournaments, everyone would have an average salary of $88,000.
I'm just saying if you could buy a little mask for your Zerglings or your Marines and it was Dan Artosis Stemkowski's face, there'd be a lot of people that would buy that. And that could go back to support, we could do that with different pro gamers. You could have Haas as a probe that goes and cannon rushes people every game. It would be cool. I think it would be good.
I would pay a lot of money for my cannons just have the picture of Haas's face on them.
There's no other graphic. It's just a Haas face.
Well, the graphic is his mouth opening to shoot the photon beams. Okay, just a few more things here in This Week in StarCraft, and we'll clean this up for future weeks. I'm not sure exactly how we'll do this. We still want to give the shout-outs to everyone, but this is taking a really long time. Afrika World 20 by Laughing Games on Afrika TV. There's been a lot of these tournaments. I see them advertised from time to time. They get 4 really good players and make them play a little mini tournament. So it's actually a really cool little series. The round of, well, I guess this one's more than 4 this time, but a lot of times it's 4 players. The round of 8, Sort of versus Fantasy, Haas versus Solar, Rainer versus Creator, and Scarlet versus Suit. That's some sick matchups right there. It looks like Sort of, Solar, Creator, and Scarlet advanced. And Scarlet went 0-4 against Solar in the finals, so Solar ended up winning there. And yeah, so you can definitely check that out. It's on afrikatv.com. And the prize pool is $500. Wow. Oh, the goal to future top pros from different regions in an invitational format. Prize pool $500. Okay. And I think from there we're going on to some Brood War news. A few things that happened this week. Have at you number 20. Sham2 is back with it. You can definitely check that out on the Liquipedia page or the thread on Team Liquid. Of course, there is a Discord for it as well, and you can register on smash.gg. And it'll all be played on US West. It starts on Sunday, September 9th at 5 p.m. GMT. Anyone is allowed. I think he doesn't allow random players. And the prize pool, the initial prize pool is $200 plus donations. And that's sponsored personally by Sham2. And the final prize pool, for instance, of the last one due to donations was $400. So quite a bit. KSL Season 2 has been announced. The qualifiers start pretty soon here. The application for the qualifiers is September 17th through 23rd. The qualifiers themselves are online 27th and 28th, and then an offline one. If you make it to that, you have to be in Korea for the offline on September 30th. The group stage round of 16 starts on October 18th, so we'll be getting into some more Brood War before BlizzCon even starts. Very nice. Also, we have Shunhan Tank Pro League, the STPL, is going on. The round 2 semifinals have been pretty awesome so far. Semifinal A was Red versus NetWars. Semifinal B is White Clan versus Seoul. They have a new intro and all this stuff. There's also a Discord for that, and you can check out their Team Liquid thread. That's where most of the Brood War stuff is centered. The 2018 AIIDE StarCraft AI Competition Registration Open. You can go and check this out. We're actually going to do an episode coming up on some of these bots that are playing StarCraft and the AI stuff. So we'll definitely talk more about it then. But the registration deadline is September 1st, and the submission deadline is October 1st. So you can submit 1 bot per race. You're not allowed to random. That's part of the tournament rules. I suspect it will be hard to program a bot to play against random. And you're using BW API, which is one of those things. Yeah, so definitely check that out as well. Okay, that's it. That's this week in StarCraft. Wow, wow, wow. So much going on. It's crazy. But good to see that this much content is being put out all the time. Like, you literally can't even consume all this stuff. So you can be very picky and choosy about what you watch. So
yeah, too much to watch is always a good problem to have, man.
I know, right? There's like good problems to have and bad problems to have, and that is definitely one of the good ones. Okay. We originally were going to go into Montreal immediately, but we're going to hold off a couple minutes and do GSL first, real quick.
Yeah.
You guys watched Neeb versus TY last night.
Yes, of course. If you weren't watching, I don't know what you were doing, but
yeah,
you messed
what
up.
would you be doing?
Actually, I have a good.
Oh no! Oh no, pig! Did you not pay to get Wi-Fi on the plane or something? Because you fucked up, my dude.
I
would have worth $100, $200 or whatever.
Watching a Twitch stream on plane Wi-Fi over the Pacific Ocean.
You messed up, man. Where's your passion?
Interesting one. No, I was actually already here. I got in a day early so I could explore Montreal a little bit. And I was enjoying trying to get a few hours sleep after my 25 hours travel in my hotel room, or hostel, I should say, because they had a young 18-year-old drunk Frenchman in my room who decided to come in and turn the light on and off and like smash into furniture about 10 times during the night. So I not only did not watch it, I forgoed it to get a good night's sleep. And I maybe slept like 4 hours at most, and it was constantly getting interrupted. And then I woke up and saw it was a super hype series, and I was really, really sad. I've watched most of the VODs now, but I still haven't kind of really sat there and absorbed all of it. But yeah, it looked pretty damn hype, guys.
Yeah, well, it was certainly pretty damn hype, I would say. Like, we did go to game 6, but we had 7 games. There was a draw, which was just madness. Like, Neeb had that stuff, man. He would have been up 3-1 because he was already up 2-1, which, by the way, the games themselves were just great, too. Like, so many mind games going on. They were both so strong. I mean, what do you think about the series, Jake? I know you were up watching.
So, I when I saw they were going to play, I knew it was going to be really crazy because I remember TY lives at our house sometimes, and he's preparing for his round of 16 with Neeb and other housemates. And the way TY plays is he plays like this really aggressive, really, style that if you know what he's going to do, like it's actually not impossible to play against. Mm-hmm. And because Neeb practiced with him so much, I figured that there would be some super mind games where you're not going to do exactly what you practiced with him because it wouldn't make any sense. Yeah. But you're also TY, so you still got to do your crazy shit. So I already knew there was bound to be a crazy series, but it blew my expectations out of the water. I think if Neeb was playing really, really well, but if he had just done a few things differently, like if you look at the series back as Neeb, you can like easily win all of them. You know what I mean? Like you just need to how to explain it. Like that, for example, the recall game should never have happened, where he should have been able to recall and save that Nexus and deny the draw. I
find like it's always in base trade situations really much easier for the people not playing to be like, oh, this is so clear, but it's so not clear when you're in those base trades. It's like those are the like we were trying to talk about it some last night while it was occurring, but like for instance, right, early game you open up, you're gonna have like maybe even 80% of your games be the same opening and the same few things happening, right? And then you get into mid game and you're like, ooh, this is really deviating in a lot of different ways, but maybe you're going to play the same game a few times, right? You're going to have this, as far as like supreme late game base trades, you never have the same game twice, basically, right? So just it gets so complicated and weird and hard to judge where you are. So when people screw up, I think that there's certainly some rules that you need to have for yourself with it, like saving money and probes and stuff. Like normally you're not going to lose because you have 4 less sellouts in your army during a base trade, but you'll have money for a Nexus or something like that, Yeah,
I think if we had taken that into account with that series, there's a lot of little things, like really small things that if he would have just adjusted, he would have, completely demolished TY. But obviously that's like in hindsight kind of thing. You can't really go into the series knowing these things. But I thought they both prepared really well, and I was very proud of like having both of them at the house. I think that was like by far one of the highest level PvTs I ever observed this entire year, honestly. Like both of them were just playing so well. There was no one-sided games really, besides maybe like the last game. But I like the whole thing was like it was just an amazing series to watch. It was one of the most on edge I've ever been watching, like a best of 5. Especially the draw. The draw was like, what? Like, he was supposed to win that game too. He would have been up 3-1. Like, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think these situations are actually so intense as well, because it's such a high pressure situation where I was talking actually to Matt just before, our lovely producer who's sitting in the background, and he was saying how, and I agree, that I think after a draw situation like that, you've got to kind of rehost it. It's one of the hardest things to stay calm during that and kind of stay focused. And I already feel like Neeb had the slightly harder role in how he was choosing to play the series, in terms of TY is doing this current thing, and it's almost meta at the moment, right? Where the Terran's just trying to throw off the Protoss from having any 100% read on what the Terran's doing, right? Because there's this kind of format at the moment where Protoss wants to scout. They want to get just enough defense at the right time, stop your attack, and then they've got like either a big upgrade lead or a big tech lead or a big economy lead. And it's really hard for the Terran to get back in the game because the Protoss just has such control. And then their mid-game pushes are so good with either Storm or Colossi, right? And I feel like the Terrans are kind of doing this thing where they're like, okay, well, you rely on knowing exactly when I'm going to hit you. You kind of don't have any defense. You power a little, and then you get the defense at the right moment. And it's not like these builds are efficient, right? Building your barracks or your factory on the other side of the map is the furthest thing from efficiency, but it's all based around putting the Protoss in a position where they have to play a sort of middle ground reaction. You need to like limit down, and you say, well, the Terran can do this or this, and this thing kind of stops both of them, but I need to like really make sure I don't overstep my defense or I fall too far behind in probes. At the same time, I can't be too greedy, or I can die to just something like a Hellion drop in game 1, where Neeb wasn't really being greedy, but he wasn't in the right position. And the Hellion drop massacred his worker line. And it's just this real dance of the tightrope. So just to echo what you guys said, and reinforce it, part of why I was very impressed watching, especially the first few games I really got to kind of rewatch, playing that defensively is hard. It's really hard to not lose your footing as Neeb in those games and get thrown off and overstep a reaction. He didn't do that. So awesome. Very, very impressive to do that in the semifinals.
And back to kind of what you were saying there, this is like, I think that specifically for TY, he's like more likely to lose to a worse player than a really top end player, I think, right? Because so much of what he does is based on the premise that his opponent is an intelligent, strong player. Like a lot of these moves, right? Where it's like, he's like, everything I've shown you makes you have your units here. So now I hit you here or something like that, right? And like, I love it so much. Like, I think he's my favorite player amongst all races.
That was one of the
plays.
That was one of the most interesting things too. Is like when you watched Neeb play that series, you knew that Neeb had a lot of practice against TY, right? Like the stuff Neeb was doing, the stuff Neeb was preparing for. It's like, this doesn't make any sense unless you're playing TY and you know he's going to do the. Like he was moving his army in these ways where it's like he just like intercepts things before TY gets there, and he just knows exactly where the army's moving. And like it was just like a magically like such an amazing game where he just knew everything. The so one thing that
isn't it, where the kind of line goes so far into the weirdness, but they've both encountered it with each other, and they both go so many branches down this weird path, and you're like, this is so cool to watch.
Yeah, because they both practice so much, right? For like the round of 16. So it's really weird. Like I know what you're gonna do, you know what I'm gonna do. Now, how do I fuck with you to make you think I'm doing this when I'm doing this? You know, like there's so many different like there had to have been like 4 or 5 different layers of mind games going on. Between them.
It makes it like really hard for people to really figure out what's going on or understand. Like Nick had one of the funniest lines that was absolutely true that I actually laughed at him about when we were casting it, where he said something to the effect of, "Oh my God, Neeb is so good at warping in units at bases that aren't under attack," or something like that. Right? I started laughing because I knew what he meant, where it's like basically Neeb is predicting. He's like, okay, you're attacking over here. You're going to attack down here next. Right? And he kept doing that, but it's like such a funny thing to try to explain where, you know, it's like, well, this is actually a very difficult, a lot of times like you're holding off an attack and you keep warping units behind. You're like, okay, now I have more units here, but then TY comes somewhere else and wrecks your probes over there. But Neeb's like, no, I have units just spread beautifully. It was, for me, it might've been the best TVP series of the year.
I agree. That's what
I'm
I
trying
said.
to think of one I liked better than that, but like just between the mind games, the overall skill level, the variety of strategies, I love
If
it.
you look at it on face value, you might not appreciate it as much as if you like, you know how deep these mind games are going. Like if you look at this from a very face value, like, oh, TY proxied, the game ended here, blah blah blah. Like this happened, Neeb did this, that. Like it's not as appreciable if you know like how far down these mind games are going. Like a Hellion drop could have been anything else, could have been Cyclones, could have been this, blah blah blah. And another thing is like even some of these bases where like Neeb's warping in units, his base is completely wide open, you know, but he just warps in and defends the base that he doesn't know is being attacked. Like it could have been his natural, but he warps in at his third or fourth base. He just completely leaves his natural. Just like it could be completely ran by or whatever. He doesn't care about it because he knows he's not going to be attacked there. Like that's some crazy level mind games.
Star sense.
Yeah, some serious star sense.
I've seen some people saying this. I'm sure some of it's tongue in cheek, but I'm sure some of it people mean that have watched this. A lot of people bringing up, and I just want to see what you guys would say to this because I have lots of things I would say, but I think you guys are nicer than me. For these people saying like, man, like Terran just has to cheese and proxy to beat Protoss. It's like it's a problem, you know? What would you guys say to this?
I think if you look at TY and say that, I think you're not seeing the big picture here. That's like looking at Haas versus Serral and saying, man, Protoss has to cheese to beat Zerg. Like they just have to. Or Haas versus anybody. Like Haas versus Terran or whatever. Haas versus Zerg. Like looking at that and saying, oh, this Protoss has to cheese to win is a little bit insane. You know what I mean?
Sorry for cutting in. You're done, yeah?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to answer this, but it's I agree with what you said there, Jake. But it's also like, is he cheesing though? Because there's this thing, right? And this is what happens when you cheese a lot on the ladder. I'm sure you've had this happen, Jake, but I know I have a lot laddering on account where people know I'm going to cheese. At a certain point, you can't just there's layers to your cheese, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like a full Shrek level onion. And there's a metagame within the cheesing. Now, you know, let's look at the very first game of that series. And talk about, was it a cheese? Going for reactor cyclones, which literally did nothing except show themselves to set up a faster than normal Hellion drop, and it was an expansion into siege tanks, and I think there was a third command center as well behind it. Is that a cheese? No. He was never going to kill him with the cyclones. He was never going to straight up win the game with the Hellion drop. What he was doing, he was baking a cheese.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the mind games.
Usual pressure, and then he's macroing behind it. This is definitely something, and this is where a term like cheese or macro becomes reductive, right? Because you know, StarCraft is always a game of calibrating your level of kind of army investment versus economy investment and trying to keep it relatively on par with your opponent. Maybe you push ahead in one area, but you've got to try and cover that from falling behind to their counterattack. You know, it's this complex game. So I think it's so reductive to say TY just cheesed that series, and it really doesn't give the genius the credit for what he was doing. He played it bloody smart, man.
Yeah. I think if you look at this and say he's cheesing, like you're very face value for what's going on. Like you don't even understand how many layers you go down. Like you're looking at the top of the ocean and thinking like, this is how deep the ocean is. And then the Marianas Trench is down there and you're like, what the fuck? It goes miles down? That's how far down these mind games went. Okay.
Yeah, it's certainly true. And I don't know. It was just such a good series. I had so much fun yesterday, you know, just watching that and enjoying like these two magnificent players go at it. You know, I think people are a little bit sad that Neeb didn't make it in the finals, and obviously that would be really hype, but TY is one of these. It's like, for me right now, I think it's just TY, SOS, and Sue are like the three people where I'm like, well, these people, and maybe Dark, these people need a GSL. Wait, Rogue too. Damn, there's actually like a good chunk of people who don't have an actual GSL victory yet that you think of as easily GSL champion level players, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I'm happy it's TY. Like, of the matches, like either of those players winning would make me happy. You know what I mean? Like TY getting 3 totally deserves it. He's trying really hard. You know, all this practice with players within the house. He's one of the nicest guys. Like when he comes down, he practices with everybody. Super kind. You know, very thoughtful person. And I'm just happy that they both played. And either way, I would have been happy. Obviously, I would love Neeb to be in the finals, but the fact that TY's there is still great. And I think Neeb feels the same way. Like, I think he has a ton of respect for TY. So even if TY wins, there's no hard feelings. It's like he totally deserves it.
Okay, so the Saturday match, the rematch of Mara versus Zest. Does Zest have any chance, you guys?
No.
So that's this Saturday Korea time, right? So
Yeah,
it's the good slot for NA Friday evening.
That's right. That's right.
Cool. And that should be. Wait, is that going to clash
With
Montreal?
No. I don't believe it does, right? Because right after that, you guys don't start until nighttime. So it should go like, basically that's going to be a non-stop day of StarCraft. It goes from GSL Code S round of 4, almost immediately after, like an hour after the KSL finals starts on the StarCraft Twitch. And then I think just a little bit after that should end is when Montreal should start that day, I believe.
Okay, awesome.
Right, because you'll be ending, and then this stuff starts, right? Because that's in the evening. That's in like pretty late evening for you is when GSL starts. Maybe there'll be a little overlap at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't been in NA to watch that time zone, so the time zone's doing my head in. I'm too jet lagged, but I think you're right, Dan. But anyway, so yeah, I am actually super jet lagged. I'm gonna let Zesmaru. That's the match. Thank you.
I don't think Mara's gonna drop any games. I just feel like Mara's too insane right now. And plus, I feel like Zest always sneaks into like the round of 4. Just like I don't know how to explain it. Like a lot of people sleep on him, and then he just sneaks in, and then he gets demolished by Maru. But
so the
Maru's
two-time
Maru.
GSL champion is sneaking into the round of 4. What a world we live in.
I mean, it's not completely fair to say that.
2013, 2014, right?
Yeah.
Been a while.
Yeah.
Been a while.
Yes. No, I know what you're saying. He kind of is a little bit under the radar at all times. People don't respect him as much as they used to, or they should, perhaps.
Yeah, I was actually surprised to see that he's 3rd place in Korea standings too, which is, very surprising. I just feel like we sleep on him so much, but I still think Maru's gonna have his way with him.
I think one of Zest's biggest strengths is he's kind of like a trendsetter, right? Whenever a new balance patch comes around, I feel like Zest sets the pace of Protoss a little bit. And like it was him. I mean, who knows what goes on in the Korean ladder? I'm sorry, I don't. But from what I saw, it was Zest who brought back 2 Stargate Phoenix in PvZ as well. And I feel like he did incredibly well with that for the first few weeks. So I think whenever he's able to like bring about a meta shift or a new build, and with Zest, this is not something he can do overnight because he doesn't play these crazy aggressive SOS or kind of HAS style builds. They're usually like very solid styles and transitions, which he's found a way to work into the meta, and he repeats them over and over because Zest is a perfection master. He wants to just keep doing the same style with slight variations. That's how he plays. So I have to err on the side of Maru saying, "Hey, I'm Maru. I've lost very few games this year at StarCraft at all. Like I've been murdering so many people, so many different games. So it's going to be really tough for Zest. I think Zest has these moments where he's dictating the pace of the game, and you've talked about him being strong in the mid game a lot, Dan. But like his late game, he just falls apart completely. And also sometimes in the early or mid game, if a game is going into an area which he was not expecting, he sometimes does lose his like mental control of where he is in the game, and his APM starts getting put in the wrong places, and he starts floating money or hitting supply blocks. So it's definitely something, where he's going to struggle to compete, whereas Maru is the whole package at the moment.
Yeah, and just because I'm always so interested when we talk about things like the way people actually play and their strengths and weaknesses, like basically like connecting those two thoughts you just had about how things, what Zest like inventing new things kind of, and falling apart if things go wrong. Like if you watch his stream, he'll have these builds and I'll be watching and I'll be like, he's dead. And then he holds exactly. Like, he had exactly enough to hold a push from innovation where I'm like, oh no, there's no way. And then you're like, well, damn, can I do charge lot Phoenix? And then I try, it's like, no. Like this guy, he knows like every probe cut, and but yeah, I mean,
apparently,
investment basically.
Zest versus Maru is a 23-23 score right now. Wow. 50% exactly. That's pretty crazy.
if you look at the recent past, it's pretty
pretty well, the last 3 series, Zest won 2 of them, and Maru won the most recent one, 4-0, which is the GSL finals. So like, it's not insane, but I still think Maru's going to win.
I'm a Zest fan. I'd like to see him do well. I had the pleasure of playing him quite a few different times back in the day, and getting, just choked out by the guy. So I like seeing him do well. I'm a Zest fan. I just want to see him not get speedrun again. In that finals, because that was just this shock in you and Nick's voices, Dan. Like when you're watching it, you guys like, oh my god, like. And then the last game was actually made it more tragic because he was crushing it, and then he just totally flopped in this moment, and Maru just ran him over in a game where Maru was like, down so far in supply and upgrades and everything, and it was like, oh no, this is such a sad way for it to finish. I thought he was getting some ground.
Yeah. It was especially sad with that finals because I thought we had the best videos we ever had to hype a finals. They were like so funny, where like Zest is calling himself like a baller and stuff like that, and Maru's asking for Flash's blessing. I was like so hyped by the end of those hype videos, and then it was 4-0, and I'm like, oh, that's one of the worst finals we ever had. That's so sad. Yeah, I don't think it'll be a 4-0. I hope it's closer. But that's GSL. We're just real quickly, I want to talk about ASL and KSL, and then we'll do WCS for the rest of the show. So real quick, ASL just started. It's season 6, of course. We had Jaedong playing on night number 1. And so far we've gotten 2 groups done. The third group will occur tonight. But the groups have gone exactly as expected. Jaedong won his group with C getting second. We had Shine winning his group, Shuttle getting second, all the underdogs kind of falling away pretty quickly. And, speaking of that, I mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about tonight. We have Mind Saxery Best in Movie, so it's a really, really strong group tonight on Afrika TV and YouTube. Those are 2 places you can watch it, so definitely do watch it. It's such a good tournament. But speaking of Jaedong, right, he's in the KSL Finals, which is this Saturday. Which is so crazy, right? Because everyone thought he was washed up. He wasn't going to come back. He hasn't been doing as well. Some of the other guys of his level, like Flash, have been winning every tournament. But Jaedong right now is dominating the ladder. He's number 1 in the world on the ladder right now, even over Flash. Okay, so Flash almost never loses number 1 ladder spot since the ladder reset. He's been up there crushing it. But Jaedong is number 1. He destroyed his group in ASL. He's in the KSL finals, having beaten Rain 4-0, and it's just, I don't know, it's going to be an insane finals with Jaedong against Last. So everyone should tune in, whether you're a StarCraft 1 fan or StarCraft 2 fan.
Everyone's a Jaedong fan, He's got the killer eyes, right? And whenever you see Jaedong and he's not quite in the zone, everyone kind of feels this terrible sense of loss, but then he always makes a comeback, and you see him again there on camera, and he's just got that super killer face, and everybody is just, there's this like magnetic quality about it. You can't not cheer for Jaedong when he's in the zone. He's got that look in his eyes, like he's just going to kill his opponent brutally, and that's what he did to Rain. So yeah, that's super hype. It's really cool. I heard he's getting physiotherapy on his wrists, and he's like, exercises and stuff to help cope with that. Like, it's still some pain, but it's something he's coping with for the moment, and he seems to be in good form. So super cool.
Yeah, and he puts himself into it like 100%. In fact, his interviews are hilarious when he's being interviewed next to other players. Like, they'll ask him how he feels about the group, and he'll just be like, "These guys aren't practicing enough," and it's just like this really funny kind of confidence that he has, just knowing he's put in the time, he's put in the effort, and he's going to win. And so, yeah, this final is a best of 7, guys. Make sure that you watch that. I believe it starts at 4:30 p.m. KST on Saturday. So that's like, what's today, Thursday? So that goes Friday, Saturday. So it's like 2 days from now. Wow. Definitely make sure you check that out. Watching me count days. I'm like, what? Never eat soggy waffles. Yes, Saturday. Okay, so that brings us to the main thing that we wanted to talk about tonight here, and of course that is going to be WCS Montreal. It is obviously starting not tomorrow for you guys, right? Because this is nighttime, so the day after tomorrow. Am I right? You guys are in Canada. And you're both going. How don't you know?
To be honest, whatever you just said went in your one ear and out the other. So I don't know what we're talking about.
I was talking to Twitch chat, did the exact same thing.
God damn it, pig.
Okay. WCS Montreal, guys. That's why we're all here.
Okay.
I know I've been basically blathering for an hour because so much is happening in StarCraft, but we're actually all going to talk now about some StarCraft 1.
Okay.
I mean StarCraft 2. Oh my god.
Yes, so about 16 hours from now, I believe it is, something like that, wherever you are in the world, we'll be going live. So, as always, the first day...
Wait, 16 hours? No way.
Sorry.
I'm traveling in like 16 hours, so I hope it doesn't start.
You get DQ'd immediately. I'm so sorry.
Okay, in just under 2 days, we'll be going live. You're like, I'm meant to be on the bus. Oh.
Yeah, I was like, shit, man. I better get on the bus now.
So yeah, the first day, as always, is always an epic journey, especially for players whose flights get delayed and they arrive on the day of the tournament. There's always one, and we always get to follow their story as you visit the player area and you look at a player with the absolute soul sucked out of them as they try to play through 3 group stages while absolutely exhausted. Shout out to Snoot at Austin earlier this year for making it through that whole day. And I remember seeing at the end of that day, and I've never seen a man more drained. Yet, he made it through. So there's always someone who's really struggling with jet lag and that sort of stuff. But there is all 3 group stages for that first day played out. We usually go pretty damn late, and I mean we're all excited. The same reason these last few rounds of GSL in the few weeks have been so exciting, because we're rounding up who the hell is going to BlizzCon and who's having their hopes and dreams slashed. So there's so many different storylines, and it's more open than it's been in the last few years, because one guy is hoarding all the points. His name's Cyril. So everyone else is kind of like, well, a special is also locked in at this point as well at number 2. But it's anyone else's game. Ravi, Fear Dragon, keeps talking about how even like rank 30, I think, can make it if they get second place here.
Yeah, I guess that's actually the important thing, is getting second place, right? Because it's like, well, technically everyone's still in the running because the winner gets a spot, but realistically, what is there, 6 people that could win this tournament?
This is when Haas comes out and fucking slaps everybody, gets round of 4, and then becomes a BlizzCon player.
Well, he's doing very well with it too, right?
He's currently ranked 5th at the moment, and he actually was 13th the last 2 years running when it got cut off. So he was always like kind of high, but 5 spots off getting through. Yeah,
he gets like a decent amount of points just because he always dominates his region. But with that second place finish this year, it's like the real chance there for.
I think if he just does relatively well, he should get in. Actually, he doesn't have to do insane.
I think even a top 16 might have a very good chance of locking him in. I think top 8 would put him like at 100% or something like that.
It'd be close, yeah.
So
top 8 isn't crazy. I think that Haas actually like excels in the group stages, because you always get thrown in with at least somebody who's going to be susceptible to your bullshit.
Yeah, I think the one problem he will have is. Definitely the practice players have been getting more practice against cannon rushes. I think Harstem has started cannon rushing a bit, and a few of the
everyone is fucking cannon rushing right now.
Yeah,
everyone, man. It's like 50% cannon rushes.
I mean, I know Haas is better at cannon rushing, and he'll do these weirder cannon rushes, but it's hard because and he also had a big surprise build for PVZ. PVZ is the important matchup, and it was the one which people took forever to figure out. I don't know if because they weren't watching the VOD from the group stage against a laser, but basically he popped it out once against a laser. Luckily didn't play many other Zergs or any other Zergs. And then he got to just like do it over and over again against Nurture and against Cyril as well in the grand finals. And it was that 3-base mineral saturation, only 2 gas geysers, mass zealots with some sentries and some immortals and some upgrades, and you just kind of like, he just multi-prongs and he clears creep in the early stages, and then eventually he just hits you in like 3 locations and he says, hey, try microing against zealots hitting you in different bases. And Cyril was the only one who really shut it down. So now that that's out of the bag, I think every pro comes in very prepared for Haas's strategy.
Yeah,
so
well,
I hope he's just got a whole new bag of tricks.
Yeah, I was going to say, the thing about Haas is you're like, okay, I've got your strategies down. Good luck, like pulling that shit out. And then he just like comes out, fucking rolls his dice of builds, slaps you with something completely different. Or worse, he makes it look like that thing. You're like, oh, he's doing it. He's doing the charge lot thing. Just kidding, it's Glaives. There's a depth at every base now, and you're just dead again. Like, he's so good at like abusing the fact that he's Haas and that you think he's going to play a specific way. So if anyone can do it, it's definitely him.
Dude,
there's a reason why. Like, there's a reason why he it's not like oh, I just have to deal with a cannon rush and then I win. Like, there's a reason why he's still doing it. He's still here. He's still like years and years and years of people still haven't figured him out.
Dude, his PVTs at Valencia were just so hilarious to watch because you could just see Kelazur special, these players just having their heads just screwed with, right? Where he's like, look, I'm going, double gas and Cybercore, doop-de-doop. Where's my second pylon? And he's done, how Terrans are all proxying barracks and factories. He's like, no, I proxied my starport just hidden like at my fourth base. And he takes a slightly later Nexus, pulls some dudes off gas, and goes defensive Phoenix, and just plays like a macro build. And the Terrans are sitting there with like bunkers and ravens, and they're like, don't build any, can't go for stim yet. I've just got to build tanks and marines. And it was just so funny to watch him just alternate between that and the cheesiest, most all-in proxies. Yeah. And Terran players are really struggling with it. But he's gonna struggle. I think Lambo actually had a flavorful tweet as well. He has his eyes set on shutting Haas out of the competition.
Good luck with that.
Fighting words on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he has to get pretty lucky to hit Haas at that point, right? And then I don't know if it's luck because as soon as people start talking trash on Haas, he beats them.
Yeah, the funny thing is, how many fuckers are like, oh man, just give me Haas. This is going to be such an easy, I just won Haas. And then they play Haas fucking 3-0. So you don't hear a fucking word of those fuckers. You don't even see their face for the rest of the week. Okay? Those are the guys who just go home, go to their hotels immediately and don't talk to anybody. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, this has happened so many times with Haas. Okay? Only happens a few times where Haas actually gets, eliminated.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of points, though, so it's kind of in his hands whether or not he makes it to BlizzCon at this point.
Yeah. To quote Lambo, and because I'd like to talk about Lambo next, if that's all right, he said, on my way to Montreal, the goal for this one is clear. Top 4 for the BlizzCon Dream. He's currently at 13th. And also denying Haas a spot with a 5-point advantage, so Haas barely doesn't make it in. So this is Lambo's sort of little fever dream he's having, I guess, is like just knock him out. But yeah, that's an interesting story because Lambo showed up at Austin, right? Lambo has been known for being kind of almost overconfident. A lot of people have described him as over the years. Like, he's been very good, but not quite able to crack through. And he'd always, since 2015, he'd be running into pulp in these tournaments and having a close series and not quite making it. He showed up at Austin in a big way. He was the closest competition until Mana faced Cyril. For Cyril, he had a lot of close Zerg versus Zergs. He's playing very well, but he got crushed in Valencia. So that's kind of what makes it interesting for me, is he got rocked there.
Here's the thing, okay? Austin was immediately after his time in Korea, okay? So there's a reason why he showed up there and then didn't come back. So what happens in Valencia,
There's something to be said for that, I think.
I think he was a player who utilized his time in Korea very well. So I honestly think it did play a part in it.
All I'm hearing is that Jake is a spiteful witch and he curses players if they don't come back to the house after doing well in a tournament, and then they
man. Yeah, you gotta, if they keep doing well, they're not gonna come back. I actually sabotaged their keyboards and mice at Montreal and stuff too. You haven't been at our house for a couple of months. I unplug your mouse in the middle of a competition or something. And they're like, oh shit, I better go back to Korea. My mouse isn't working.
D-bag.
Someone I want to really talk about a bit here. I feel like we're starting, because WCS is kind of becoming more regular and we're starting to feel the flow, like last year and then this year. Last year was this kind of funny year where Showtime really underperformed. Remember this? Where it's you kind of look at him and you're like, this player should easily be at BlizzCon, but he has a very tough year. Things are just not going his way. This year he's obviously doing a lot better. He's third place right now, really looking solid to be able to go to BlizzCon. But I feel like this year, the Showtime this year for me is a laser, where I've been looking at a laser as the guy who might really challenge Cyril to win these things. And then here he is barely clutching on to 8th place right now. Is a laser going to deliver for us at this next event?
I think he's very aware of this. I mean, obviously a pro player is aware when they're not, winning things as much as they used to, but he was very vocal on Twitter about this. Like a month or two ago, I believe is when he started kind of being like, look, I'm back. Like I'm training all day. I want to, be proud of my play again. Like it was clearly like just the tone from how he was saying was like that he wasn't happy with how he'd been performing, and he was putting a lot of work in, and he has been performing very well online in kind of the Clash tournament and a few other things. He's been starting to do well in Challenger again. So that definitely gives me some strong hope there. And he's still a very fiery player who's not afraid to gamble under pressure and that sort of thing. Yeah. But I'd be curious, actually, Jake, to hear your thoughts, on a laser's current skill. Have you watched many of his recent games?
In my opinion, a laser was likely to be that person in the beginning of the year. Like I felt more this way than, later. Like the beginning of the year, I thought like, he was looking monstrous. Like the Koreans were like, really talking him up. But I think as the year went on, he didn't really adapt his play. And I think a lot of people started figuring him out. Like he kind of has this, go-to play style. And it's not a bad play style, don't get me wrong. Like obviously there's strength to it. But when it's coming and when you can prepare for him specifically, it makes it a little bit easier to take him out. Especially Specials talked a lot about it, like where he's like, I just know how to beat a laser. Like it's just he plays this style. I know how to beat it, and then like you watch him and he beats him, and it's like, okay, well clearly there's some truth to what Special says, right? So I think that's the biggest problem with him is like he's too predictable in his crazy, if that makes sense. Like when he does aggressive stuff, he does the same thing or whatever. He does this, and you can just predict it.
Yeah, if we go back a few years, he was like Ravager, walking the slow queens across with the Ravager lane. He's like, no, it's this map. He's going to do it 100% of the time.
Exactly.
So I guess then what I'll be watching a laser for with this context in mind is kind of like, has he gone back to the drawing board?
Exactly.
Like, is he going to come out with enough fresh plays to really defy that expectation and brand new builds?
Another thing is if he just plays his own, like, I think he feels like a little bit forced into this, like, kind of like a rut, but like he needs to play outside of it more. Like, I think he's a really good player and he's really talented and will multitask and just like a very solid player, but he doesn't, go out of that rut that he's in of play styles. So yeah, going back to the drawing board, finding new strategies and new play styles is something he was really strong and good at. So I'd love to see him do that more.
Kind of, it's funny because I used Showtime to lead into a laser, but now I want to use a laser lead into Showtime here.
Yeah, Showtime is like a monster right now, though.
Yeah, because, okay, so part of the reason why I was always talking about a laser for all the WCS stops is all the Koreans were talking about him and saying how good he was, he helped in practice and stuff. I've heard Koreans talking about Showtime.
Yeah, now it's Showtime. Showtime's the new laser.
Right now, it's Showtime is on the tip of the tongue of many a Korean player at the moment.
Yeah, he's solid right now. He's just like, he's like a really well-rounded Protoss player, just like the Rock that he always was, but he's in like a 2.0 version of himself right now, I think. Like, I think that Showtime is one of the, like, there are two types of people that come to Korea. There are people that play themselves and just do what they can do best in Korea, not necessarily adapt and mold, and just, they're kind of just playing the same thing, right? Their own style. And then there's other players that adapt and take in like the Korean essence from the latter. You know what I mean? Like they modify their play and adapt with the Koreans. And those people look absolutely monstrous when they come. And I do think Showtime is one of these people. Like he is playing his own style, but he's taking in the benefits and the good plays from other players that he's playing against. And I just think he's up there. I think he could possibly take, Montreal if he's in his form, if he doesn't do his Showtime thing where he just bops out as soon as you say he's going to win.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking so good, dude. I remember I was thinking, I was like, okay, no, Showtime's definitely surpassed Neeb. This is like a month ago. I was thinking this. I was like, like in my mind, he's definitely the more solid Protoss right now. And now Neeb's just had this amazing run in GSL, so it's cool because I'm excited for both of them. Very similarly, but Showtime is he's so good. And I like what you were saying about how he takes in the essence of the Korean ladder. He'll do these exceptionally decisive counterattacks, pressures, and what looks like an all-in, but it's very reactive a lot of the time. And this is what Cyril started doing recently. Things like when Cyril was playing stats and he got rid of the proxy Stargate and he just went Spire reactively, right? These kind of like, it's a big commitment, but it's logical, and it looks like, well, why wouldn't you just do this every game? But it's because it's executed so cleanly, and there's details where you'll see Showtime defend like a pressure from a Terran, and he'll just like counter pressure and just kill him while adding upgrades and an extra base behind it or something, right? Like he's very rarely necessarily completely all in, but he's very decisive and clean. And it's the ability to defend, but then also capitalize on an advantage as soon as you have it. There's very little sitting back and letting an advantage just kind of, waft away and potentially be lost in a longer game. He's very good at knowing when he can push across the map.
Yeah, he's definitely like a player that is very aware of what you're doing as an opponent. Like there's, like I always say, there's like I was talking before, there's a player who plays themselves, and there's a player who plays the other person. And Showtime finds like the perfect balance of both of it, where he just is so aware of you as a player, your opponent or his opponent. He knows exactly how many units you have before you even know, like that kind of stuff, right? Like he knows when you're weak and he knows when you're strong. Like he won't. How many times have you seen Showtime like engage into an army that's just bigger than him and like lose? Like he never does it. He's just so aware of how big your army is and when he can attack and when he can't. Like I think these are all the things that make him such a solid player.
Yeah.
And I hope he's on his game and he's not, like nervous or whatever, because there's just like 2 Showtimes, and I just wish the one that was so dominant, the one that, like everyone talks up, is the one that shows up at Montreal, because he could win. Like it's not insane to say that.
Yeah. And the thing is, he doesn't need a win. He just needs a reasonable placement to qualify for BlizzCon, and he's set. It's
as long as he doesn't bomb out of the 32, because he's done that before.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't do that, he should be fine.
And then everyone right below him do very well, and then suddenly by Showtime you're not in any longer.
If Showtime doesn't get in, that's like the biggest robbery of ever, to be honest.
Well, I mean, isn't this kind of what happened last year? But I guess he did have a more poor last year overall.
Bombed out of a lot once.
I mean, he's putting in a ton of effort and getting better too right now. Like the initiative to come to Korea and practice, like he's been practicing all day, every day, like in Korea. So
I hope he doesn't burn out. This is so painful, right? Because I'm just sitting here looking at the standings of the top players, and I'm like, oh, this guy needs to go, and this guy needs to go, and this guy needs to go, and I keep going down the list and saying this. Maybe skip 1 or 2 names, and the thing is, I see more than 8 players here.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Like Snoot right now is 9th.
Yeah.
Can you think of a BlizzCon without Snoot? Like this is the guy that was like the only guy fighting against Koreans for years. In between Stefano and whoever the hell came after Snoot. It's like he is in 9th place, though. He needs a reasonable finish here. He needs to finish at least better than some of these people above him.
Yeah, this is tough. Snoot's been having a bit of trouble. Obviously tweeted about, saying he felt he couldn't necessarily keep up with the new mechanical and kind of just, I think he said skill ceiling were his exact words. The new skill ceiling, he called it, which, I think is just a reference to the level that's gone up across the board. And it's hard to keep up with, and it's hard to be consistent. It's not just a Cyril. You could run into it in a round of 16. You can run into a Showtime or a Neeb. They're all incredibly hard matches. Snoot's very solid. It really for him, I think, comes down to the bracket somewhat. I think he's very capable of taking out pretty much everyone that's lower than him in the standings. But when you look at everyone that's above Snoot in the standings, I think Haas is the only player who he's favored against. I think, Alisaunder, Hero Marine, Nurtio, maybe Nurtio as well, but Showtime needs Special Cyril. They're all very tough matches for Snoot. Like he's definitely not the favorite against any of them.
I like the way that you're looking at it. It's kind of an interesting way where it's like if he has to face these guys head to head, then maybe that's where we can rationalize that Snoot shouldn't be at BlizzCon or something like that. Yeah.
I mean, he's on the edge. He belongs there at the moment. A couple of good wins, he gets in there, and he could still surprise us. Snoot's still such a good player. So I don't want to count him out because I'm such a big Snoot fan.
I feel like Snoot's like the equivalent of Zest, where you just sleep on him and you're like, it's like, where's he been for a while? Because he's, he hasn't and then he just comes with fucking like, like he's scary when he does well. So
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I want to say that over the history of StarCraft, there's two players that stand out as the most consistent players, and it's Innovation and Snoot. So, like, if you actually just look at these guys' results over time, there's just no one else is anywhere near them. It's pretty wild, like how many tournament wins, deep runs that both of them have. So I'm kind of still holding out hope here because I know Snoot's been kind of talking about, backing off the game a little bit.
That's the worry. When people start doing that and like they start losing confidence in themselves, they actually play worse, in my opinion. Like if you're less confident in yourself, even if it's the placebo effect, I truly do believe it affects you mentally when you go into the series. Like if you think you're worse, you can actually like play worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So kind of when he does that kind of stuff, it worries me for him.
Well, sometimes it can be like Pig was saying before, where you actually can take a lot of pressure off yourself. Like I've seen this before when Curious announced he was going to retire. Suddenly he got like a top 4 in GSL, and then Lenok was like, "I'm going to go to military next year, probably." Bam! He's super skilled now, right? So
yeah, I think there's like the difference between once you've really committed to stepping out the door, and you're like, "Look, my ego's not on the line anymore. It's all good," as opposed to there's like that really bad spot to be in. Where where you're kind of like your ego's still on the line. You're like, I want to be the best at this, but you start to kind of put too much weight on the result of every match. And I think we all as StarCraft players know that you can't control every win or loss, right? There's so many factors at play, and it's like this long-term amount of discipline. It's like discipline applied over a very long period is what leads to results far beyond when you invested that training and that effort and that understanding in. It's not this like, oh, I just did 500 push-ups and now I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger, the next day. Like, no, this is years of exercising your brain and your hands to be really damn good at this game. So it's it's something where sometimes that can be a little bit undermined if you lose confidence. I think Snoot is just a pillar of discipline. I think maybe for him saying, well, you know what, I might quit and do some other things next year. Who knows? Maybe it has that effect of taking some pressure off him where he is already saying, look, I'm pretty confident. I'm going to step back next year. There's no pressure on. Let's just enjoy like the rest of this season and kill it. So I've got good hopes for Snoot there, but we should probably move on.
One thing I want to say quickly is I think there's a difference between saying you want to, take a step back and blah, 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 and like genuinely doubting your abilities as a player, which is what it sounds more like. Yeah. It doesn't sound like he's like, I'm not enjoying it as much. It's time to step back. It's more like, I don't think I'm, at the level that I can, or like at the level of other players. Like I'm just worse than them. And when you think like this, sure, that's fine. Yeah. But I do think that fucks with your mentality a bit when you go in against a match and you're just like, well, I'm worse, Yeah.
No, I would definitely agree with that. If you expect that you're going to lose, you are going to lose.
Exactly. So I hope that doesn't mess with him. I think he's got probably the most experience out of anybody at Montreal, out of every single player there.
Yeah,
like he could have the most tournament experience out of everyone. So
for sure,
hopefully it doesn't affect his mind at all, because he could totally show up and do well.
Yeah, I mean, I always expect to see him in the round of 16. If he doesn't make it through group stage 3, I'm like, what? And I go back and I would look at that point, but I can't remember that even happening. Now, someone who's been, in my opinion, very under the radar, but is sitting here, good chance to go to BlizzCon, Hero Marine.
That's exactly what I wanted to talk about, Dan.
Okay.
Oh, dude, easily the second best Terran this whole year, right? He's been good the last few years, but this year he's stepped it up a notch. So he's actually never played at BlizzCon as well. And yeah, like I was thinking about Hero Marine, and I was like, who can you name that's better than him in the circuit outside of Korea? And I was kind of hard pressed to find 5 or any more than 5 names. So I'd say like 100% these guys are better than Hero Marine. Like he's so damned consistent, and I feel like he's just been very quietly and gradually getting a little bit better at each tournament. So yeah, he's just really damn good. With Kelazur not having quite as good a year this year, he was definitely the second best Terran last year. Hero Marine's taken that spot. I think it would be a real tragedy if he doesn't make it into the top 8 for BlizzCon, because he's just been Mr. Consistency. He's sitting there at rank 7. He's kind of like, he's got about, I think, 200 points above a laser at rank 8. So he's got like a little bit of a buffer, but it still all comes down to this tournament, as it does for all of these guys outside of the top 3.
I feel like this, I could be wrong, but I feel like Herobrine's one of those people that doesn't really have like the big goal, like I'm going to be a BlizzCon player kind of goal. I feel like he's kind of just falling into it. Like, again, I could be completely wrong. This is just the vibe I get from him, where he's just like, I'm showing up, I'm going to do what I can at Montreal.
Do you think that's maybe like a special weapon, though? Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you're just going to fall into BlizzCon.
I'm just going to make my tanks and my medevacs and play a really like clean macro game, but it's going to be like really fucking clean. And I'm going to kill like the best other players. Like, he's very nonchalant about it, where you're just like, oh, that's cool. This guy, he grew up with Starcraft as well. So I think he's like been playing so long. You're like, this guy's like, what, 19? How old is Hero Marine these days?
He's 1 year older than me, so he's 23. Or maybe he's 1 year younger, so 21.
21?
Either 1 year younger, 1 year older than me.
He's been competing since he was like 14 or something. So like he's been playing since the start of Starcraft too. So he's like got so much experience at this point. I think he's like he's much more chill about the results, because he's been disappointed, he's been ecstatic, he's been through the emotional roller coaster, and now he's just like, just rock up and play games.
Yeah, I think he's just taking like a tiny bit every single tournament he plays. He's just getting a little bit better, like edging slightly forward. Like, we so often see these people like just have these massive spikes up and they're just like the best now, right? But like Hero Marine's just been like climbing this slope for like 8 years, just slowly.
Well,
and now he's like,
that's the way to do it, right? Like the real time-tested way. Like, yeah, some people will have that talent and find the right way to play, but sometimes they'll fall off. Maybe it was a patch, a certain strategy came into vogue. But with this like constant climb from someone who's been playing for such a large portion of their life, and I would say that his confidence is the opposite of what we were talking about with Snoot, where I'm quite sure that he's quite sure that he's better than pretty much everybody. You know, like he just kind of has that kind of vibe where he's like, he knows he's really good. And if his mentality isn't, I'm going to make it a BlizzCon, but rather I'm going to show up and make my units and play some good games, that's the mentality that will get you to BlizzCon for sure. Where's the pressure in that? You're just like, I'm going to try to play well. That's all you can control. You can't control how good these guys are. There could be 10 Maros in this tournament. He can't control that, but he certainly can control coming in and giving his best.
Hells yeah, man.
What do you think about his capitalization, though? I'm just looking at his Wikipedia. What do you think?
What is his exact?
It's capital H, lowercase e, capital R, lowercase o, capital M, lowercase a, capital R, lowercase I-N, and then a capital E.
I'm an expert on this. So as someone whose name is capital P, lowercase I, capital G, I can get behind it. I can say it's tried, tested, and true. But with a name that long, you can't just have it alternating. So there is that one little moment where he's got like two uncapitalized.
That bothers me though. Like, why? Why can't
you got to break it up? You can't. No, you can't be predictable as a Starcraft player.
Come on, man.
It can't be capital
you know
N,
this more than anyone.
Lowercase e. It could be capital N, capital E, but it can't be capital N, lowercase e.
Why?
Do you not understand this?
No, I don't. Tell me.
Type it out on your keyboard. Look at it. It's ugly. You can't do that. But what I would say about the capping of his name, first off, the WCS site has the capping of his name wrong.
Uh-oh.
It's kind of messed up. But I would say that a 14-year-old capped that name.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say you can tell that he's been playing a long time.
Like, why doesn't he just change it to capital H, capital M? I feel like it looks so much better, doesn't it? I don't know.
Just capital H and capital M?
Yeah.
No, because then you're just putting two words together. There's no style.
Yeah. That's what it is.
There's no style there, Jake.
You don't need this. That's not styled.
Capital H, capital M, you're like, what type of Marine are you? He's like, a hero Marine, right?
That's what he is.
If you have the different caps, it actually suddenly you're like, oh, okay. You made those words your own. You aren't just using two words as your name.
You got to put some bling on it.
There's too much bling for me, but okay. Maybe I'm wrong.
So
I mean, you could do a little bit of bling. What if you capitalize like the E at the end or something? I don't know.
You could cap the E at the end. It's doable. But I think the way he did it's fine. Capital R's look good too.
Okay.
So we were just talking about the consistency of Hero Marine. But another person, again flying under the radar, hasn't felt like he was going to win anything this year. But definitely the best foreigner in some previous years, Nurchio. he's a bit higher up in the standings here. He's looking really solid to go. And if you look at, he's another one of these players that's unbelievably consistent over time. But in previous years, I definitely felt like Nurcio could/would win WCS tournaments. Like in 2016, for my money, best foreigner easily. In 2017, still was looking super top. Thing is, he still looks like someone who should be at BlizzCon to me, but I don't look at him as someone who might win this tournament, which feels weird. Why do I feel that way, Pig?
I think it's true.
You know, he's made it round of 8 all 3 events this year. But I was thinking about this earlier because I was preparing for the show and I was like, let's look through the list. And I got to the end and I realized I just like totally skipped over Nurcio's name and I hadn't looked through it. And I was like, why am I not thinking about Nurcio, man? So I kind of had to like backpedal and look through his results and think about like, I know I've watched a lot of his games this year, like, but why am I not really remembering any of them very vividly? Like, and I definitely don't feel like he's played the most exciting styles or unique styles this year, but he's still been playing damned well. He hits the round of 8 though, 3-0 by Serral at the start of the year at Leipzig, 3-0 by Lambo in Austin. The match against Serral, I mean, it's Serral. We can't read much into it, I guess. At this point, we're just like, oh, it doesn't count, you know. But the Lambo match, definitely Lambo was playing very, very well. Lambo, I think, is one of the best CBZers right now. He really understands that matchup. But still, I'm sure Nurcio would have been pretty annoyed at that. I think the 2-3 versus Haas has got to be frustrating.
Nurcio is like the last person who can take a Haas loss, I think. Like
he probably didn't play for 2 weeks after that match.
He's probably calling his team up like, hey, can you move my flight to like right the fuck now? Like, I don't even want to be in this country anymore. Like, get me home. Like, I guarantee you nobody saw him after that loss. He just like teleported back to his hotel.
Blizzard got a big bill from the hotel for the TV was smashed, the room was torn to pieces. It's you know, for anyone who hasn't really followed the scene as closely, Nurcio especially has history with disliking the Zerg versus Protoss matchup and finding Protoss a little bit unfair in his eyes over the years. So it's something where all players get a bit angry, I think, when they lose to Haas because they see the weaker fundamentals and they think as long as I play a strategically sound game, I should be fine. And then he surprises them. He always surprises them, finds a way, wins the games, and that's a hard thing for your ego to take because you think this player is fundamentally worse than you at the game, and he always surprises them. It just keeps happening. So that's a tough loss to take.
Yeah. I don't think of him as like a champion, right? In his current form. I think he's good, and I think he just needs something to put himself over that edge. But I don't see him as a champion right now, at least not this year so far.
Yeah. Someone who I've always seen as someone who can win a WCS event but has underdelivered a little bit in that regard, even though she played really well in Valencia's Scarlet.
Mm-hmm.
Where here's the thing, right? I'm always generally sitting there. I'm like, yeah, I know Scarlet can go very deep. She's one of the players that can win. And then she got 4-0'd by Neeb in the qualifier, right? And I found that shocking. Like I was very surprised to see that. But then I saw how Neeb has been playing in GSL, right? So then I was like, oh, okay, he's just Neeb is pulling out his ultimate strength again. But I guess what I'm looking for here is, have you guys seen a lot of Scarlet's play recently?
Scarlet actually beat Neeb in the China tournament before that challenger, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So like, I think Scarlet's. I know a lot about Sasha. I mean, like we're pretty close friends. I think her biggest issue is her practice efforts. Like she just doesn't care to practice. And sometimes she does. And when she does, she looks amazing and she slaps everybody down. And then she's like, all right, I'm going to go play Magic and I'm going to watch Netflix and I'm going to practice maybe, like I'll play an hour today or whatever, right? Like it's not, I'm just paraphrasing like an average, like she just goes on these like big winding, like up and downs, like, okay, I'm going to get good again. Like if she just put in the minimum effort or like practiced the entire time straight through, she would look monstrous. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's a lot of work and, some people are actually better. Like I couldn't actually tell for sure if she would be better if she put in all day, every day kind of thing, right? Like there are some players that are just better not doing it. But in my personal opinion, the way I personally feel is when she does prepare and when she is ready for these matches, that's when she won Pyeongchang. That's when she did round of 8 in GSL. Like she can do so much. She can be a champion very easily if she puts her mind to it and she's just in the zone and is ready for every opponent she plays.
That's a dangerous thing as well, I think. If you're at the whim of when motivation strikes rather than being disciplined as a pro player, it's this scary point where, well, you don't have a system in place when there's an important match to get maximum practice unless you happen to be inspired to do it at that moment. And that basically brings your emotion and a bit of chance and timing and luck in that regard into play in terms of whether or not you're going to get that practice in. Because if you're inspired and you're having a good time, you're going to get better quality practice.
Exactly.
And I was having a chat with my mate today, and we were talking about this idea of like, a lot of people say, oh, how can you get motivated to do this? It doesn't have to necessarily be Starcraft related, but we were talking about Starcraft. And we were kind of saying, it's interesting because, well, discipline can kind of help with that, right? There's this interesting thing where if you're actually have a good routine down and you're practicing all day, usually that's going to give you kind of better results and you're going to be more in tune with the game. And that can create a feedback loop where you're playing better and you want to play more as well. It's hard to put in place. It takes a crazy amount of effort, as you know, Jake. You've seen many players as well as yourself trying to do it. When you're doing it full time, it's not easy. But if you can get that in place, it definitely leads to these much more consistent results.
That's exactly what you're talking about.
Snoot Innovation, two names Dan brought out before as the most consistent players of all time. If you look at most consistent hours of practice, like per day or per week over the last 5-6 years, I guarantee you those two have the most hours put in consistently. Not in 1 week before a tournament, but consistently every single week, they will hit those hours. And that's why they're so consistent.
It's exactly what I was talking about. So I think if Scarlett was just consistent, even if it wasn't all day, she doesn't have to practice 8, 9, 10 hours even if it was just 5 hours a day, every single day, like no day skipping, no half-ass, like I'm a Protoss and be Mimi today, like just straight, like line, like I think her skill would just improve like a steady thing until she is the best or whatever. She already does this. We already see her doing this. So clearly there is some correlation between practice efforts and like results. Yeah. I just think the consistency needs to be there. That's kind of why we see her as inconsistent, right? There's a lot of luck and there's a lot of like random inspiration that makes her play better. And she's randomly inspired. She randomly has her practice. She's randomly ready. She just destroys everybody. And then when she's not, she can lose to, whoever.
And I think definitely, it's easy from the sidelines for us to say, well, you've just got to do this. It's another thing to put it into practice, but it's always something where I think all pro players could benefit from having a regimen, a full-time, Blizzard paid for Umpleby whispering in their ear and trying to help them out with their daily schedule. Yeah. Helping them out with their routine. You're there with a whistle. You're wearing a onesie tracksuit. You're making them do push-ups and stuff.
I would do that 100%. If like somebody at the team house was like, I'll pay you like $50 to like blow a whistle at me every single time you saw me not playing or something, I would sit there and with a chair behind them all day. Every time they get out of game, I'd blow the whistle. Like you fucking press that ladder button right now, motherfucker, kind of thing. But yeah, I think that helps a lot of players. Like a lot of like Special is a great example. Like that guy just plays every day, all day, and like he's getting to that like monstrous point. But again, I do think there is some level of person to person, like ability. Like I do think Scarlett's one of these players that is better when she doesn't practice a ton. But I still think that she could benefit from a little bit of consistency in it.
Well, do we have any inside info? Is Scarlett heavily practicing for Montreal? Because she needs a good showing if she wants to make it to BlizzCon.
Oh, I don't think she's. Well, I'm trying to think because I haven't been there for a couple of days. Yeah. When she first came back from China, I don't think she plugged in her keyboard and mouse for a couple of days. So, Well,
you just play a tournament. I can see taking a couple of days.
Yeah, I think she's pretty much standard Scarlett. Nothing crazy. She hasn't gone to like crazy like practice mode unless she's doing it right now, which is possible. She could be like cramming for a test kind of thing, which she does sometimes. So
that makes sense going into Montreal.
Right. It's hard to say. I think the biggest thing is her mentality, and that'll probably play the most part into it.
For the fans, I want to see Scarlett bring out another fire. She's a fiery competitor. You said she gets inspired. at Pyeongchang, she was inspired for sure. I want to see another run like that at Montreal, because the number of people on a daily basis as a StarCraft streamer who just ask me random questions about Scarlet because they just want to know how their favorite pro is doing, and she's such a a draw because she's got such history with the game. Goes back to Burrowed Banelings and Bomber and Red Bull tournaments and most viewed StarCraft games of all time. But she's been a competitor for a long time. She took such a historic win this year as well, which is why we keep wanting to see her do very well. And let's not forget, you guys mentioned it, she lost 2-3 to Sterile in Valencia. That was a close match. So she could definitely bring it back.
She's not out of BlizzCon either. Like, she just needs a deep run. I don't know if it's top 4 or top 2 she would need, but definitely one of the top 4 or top 2 she would need.
I think top 4 she's got a good chance at it, because she's rank 13, I believe, at the moment. So that's
definitely possible. I don't think top 4. If you told me Scarlett got top 4 at Montreal and I'd never watched a single game, I'd say okay. If you told me she got top 2, I'd say okay, she really showed up. But like, you know what I mean? Like, that would not blow my mind or anything. So it's definitely doable.
Yeah, she's ranked 15 right now.
Yeah, she might need second then.
Yeah, second probably. Let's see if she can do it.
Dan, I don't know, are you sleeping on our young uns, or were there more players you wanted to talk about?
Oh no, there's definitely some more players I want to talk about.
The little ones.
Actually, one thing I want to talk about before we talk about play, because some of these people we're talking about are on a waiting list, by the way. Like,
we'll come to that.
Clem, all those people that were like, I get the youngins you're talking about are all on waiting lists right now.
I'm talking about little Raynor and Clem.
Clem and Raynor here.
Yeah, little youngins, the little what do they call them in Star Wars when he goes
younglings?
The younglings, the younglings. That's what we should call Clem and Raynor. Where are they? Rank 25 and rank 32. So they're way down there, because obviously they could only compete halfway through this year.
Yeah, they're. I mean, obviously they would need a victory, right?
They need a victory, 100%.
Kind of interesting, right? Clem beat Raynor recently, and Raynor had that really bad showing. Which tournament was that? I'm trying to remember. He just played a tournament. Was it his challenge?
He played from GSL. Like, he played GSL, and then he went back and got demolished in something. I think it was Challenger.
I believe it was his challenge group, and he failed out, and he actually had a really kind of sad tweet from such a kid that's always really excited and happy, kind of down on himself. So maybe the pressure is stacking up on Raynor. I'm not sure.
I think he might just not have been used to like the travel and stuff. When you're that young, you don't even realize you're jet lagged sometimes. You're just like, oh, fine. And you're like, why do I play these games so badly?
I think the thing is, he's not used to losing. So he's like, what is this feeling? Like, this kind of sucks. What is this, right?
I'm going to quote the tweet as well. No idea what happened to me today. Played terribly in all of my matches. Pretty sad. And then he did a sad face. So yeah, he was pretty good. But since then, there was a few tweets where he said, "Advance here. Pretty happy with how I played. Just won BTSL season 2. Starting to play a bit better. ... So I think he's recovering.
He's coming back. Yeah. I think this year is like his year of like, you know how both Neeb and Cyril had their years of like, okay, this guy's got to be a champion, right? Like, it's gonna happen. And then it happens next year. Like the year after that, Cyril went through it. Neeb went through it exactly the same. I think this is Raynor's like experience year. And then next year will be his year where he shows up.
Isn't it? It's crazy to see him in the round of 16, one map, and a map where he was kind of ahead against Maru to go to the round of 8.
Yes,
definitely
ahead
coming up
against
year.
Maru.
We're like, is this a coming up year?
And he eliminated Classic too.
Yeah.
So
and then he beat him in the rematch in Oli Moly like a few days after that as well. We're like, oh, okay, all right.
I actually interviewed Classic for like a YouTube video, and I asked him questions that are not in the video about Raynor, and he was like, Raynor's going to be like one of the best players in the world. That's what Classic said. He's like, he will be one of the best. It just, like he's too young right now, but like in a year or two.
Pretty clear. Like, just looking at his play and the way he's playing, this kid isn't just rushing you or something. He moves his units around the map in the right way, and
it's just so fast and so smart. And he's already taken the initiative to come to Korea, and he really does so well here. So
I like how, Dan, you highlighted his Zergling usage a lot, and I think we've all started to kind of almost give him nicknames as like the Zergling master. But I really see shades of life in
a lot of people do.
Controls his Zerglings. It's really just I'm just poking, I'm here, I'm running around. These lings are running circles around, like when he was playing against was it Impact in the Zerg vs Zerg in the round of 16, and I was like, I remember the first game against Impact where he got way behind, and then he just like ran around buying time with Zerglings and played this like just beautiful defensive game, and he lost the game, but I was like, he's winning this series. He lost the game, and I knew he was going to win the series immediately because of the way he played was just so good. I was like, okay, you were so far behind, and that was impressive. So really cool to see him, and just like life, a bit of a gambler with his strategic choices as well. He doesn't play this like super safe defensive style. He'll go out there and get like a crazy, I'm going to skip ling speed and get a fast melee or something.
Yeah.
He plays these interesting styles, and they play to his strengths because he's big on mobility. If you watch his Zerg vs Zerg in recent online cups, he's always getting Mutalisks out, like a lot of the time. A lot of players don't like Mutalisks, except as a 1 in 4 games, 1 in 5 games surprise move. He's going +2 melee Zerglings into Mutas like repeatedly, and he's finding ways to make it work in these crazy messy games where it looks like things are going wrong. So I saw him take down Nurture the other day in, I think it might have been an online cup. Can't remember exactly what it was. And I was just like, oh, it's so cool to see him. He's not following the meta. He's playing his own style. So big hopes for Raynor, but long shot for him and Clem to get through. But that's like the Raynor story where if they make it top 8, we'll start talking about it.
I think Raynor is actually overshadowing Clem a bit right now too. Like Raynor's great, don't get me wrong, he's an absolute monster, but Clem is actually showing up quite a bit. We ran an anonymous with like a ton of Europeans, and he actually just won it. Like he's looking really strong. I think they're actually very equivalent. Their rivalries like could be such a great story between the two. Like they're around the same age, they're on the same team. Like they're both like the big names in the up and coming like younger demographic or whatever. So yeah,
and I mean, I haven't gotten to see her commentate as much Clem as Raynor, obviously, considering Raynor's been over here and stuff. But like Raynor, I'm completely sure he's going to be one of the best, and it seems like Clem is definitely going to be one of the best as well. And I think that like basically, I don't know how they'll do here, right? I'm expecting them both to probably get through group stage 3. I would say Raynor almost certainly through group stage 3.
Yes.
After that, it's just kind of like, who are you hitting? You're hitting like the most experienced top players in the world at that point. So it's, I
think if Raynor shows up off of his like Korean practice, he totally could do. Like if you're taking a classic in Mario, like who the fuck's gonna stop him? If you take a classic in Mario, like you can win the whole thing, right? So I mean that would be crazy if he wins the whole thing, goes to BlizzCon.
That would be crazy. What a breakout!
I feel like he just doesn't have the quite enough experience to do it yet. Like I said, I think he needs a year to just kind of get defeated. Honestly, you need to have this year of defeat to learn from your mistakes. If you don't have it, then how can you possibly be perfect?
Experience is going to teach you so much. Like next year, these guys are going to be the guys that are just at
both of them, deep
all the time.
Like this year is Cyril's year, but next year is not going to be the same. I think that this next year we're going to have like Raynor, we're going to have Clem, we're going to have these people with their Cyril years going forward. So we'll have to see.
Well, you call it a Cyril year. Can we call it a Neeb year? Can we call it what it is?
A Neeb year, yeah.
A Neeb year? Okay. This guy won 3 last year. Cyril's won 3 this year. You can't call it a Cyril year. Come on.
Well,
if he gets a 4th WCS championship, that's
okay. Then it's a Cyril year.
That is a
GSL versus the world is a pretty big title, right?
Well, it's like just it's crazy, right? Because that's when we start doing these conversations. Like, well, undoubted best foreign player of all time. Like it's spread over a whole year.
Right now. Okay, that's true. Neeb and Cyril. That's maybe they'll decide.
I actually have high hopes for Neeb coming up too. Like if you would have asked me Neeb like a couple months ago, I would have said, good luck with that. Like he's not playing. He's playing Civilization at our house or whatever. He said he's on vacation. Blah blah blah. Like he didn't really care to be the best, but at some point, like during his practice here, like something sparked inside of him. He's like, fuck it, I'm gonna be the best again. And he put in a ton of practice effort. He had amazing showings in GSL. Like all of the games he played were insanely high level. Like you could take that name down. It could be stats. It could be any of the amazing Protoss players. Like I think he has a great shot in his best shot all year at a WCS title. this, coming up event. So
Yeah.
we'll love to see if him step it up and actually, come to the finals or whatever.
Yeah. And we'll talk about who we think is going to win. There's like a couple more players I really did want to touch on, though. One of which, Mana. He's actually really borderline right now. Like if he has a really deep run, he can do it. And the thing is, he's shown actually quite a bit of consistency since Austin, right? Like he's been showing up to some of these challenger days and stuff and doing well in groups where I'm like, I don't know. Like he had a good run, but is he going to keep this level? But it seems like he's kind of kept it, right? Or am I completely
Mana came out of fucking nowhere. If you look at his like series or like so far, like you see he like didn't do anything at Leipzig, and then all of a sudden he came up in Austin, kinda. Right? Like Austin Challenger, he didn't do much. And then he just like came insane. He came second place and like looked really dominant. And now he's kind of going back into the nether. Like where, like what's going on with him? Like he could just come back out or whatever. I don't know where
what happened to Mana at Valencia? I'm trying to remember.
Valencia.
I mean, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. He went down to Bly. He had Cyril in his group. So he beat Shadown 2-0, and then Cyril beat him 2-0, and then Mana lost the Bly final match 2-1 to Bly. So Bly took Mana down there, and that's fair enough. That's one of those things where they match up really weird. Mana Bly games are one of the strangest things you'll ever see.
I mean, Bly anybody
style to begin with, and Bly's crazy.
Like if you lose to Bly, like you almost kind of count it out. Like you're not like, well, this doesn't really tell me if he's on a slump or not, right?
Yeah.
But having Cyril in the group's always tough.
To be fair, though, like the Europe Challenger, he did make it through his group. He was the only Protoss to get in the bracket stage. So I'm like, I think he's still kind of got it. If you go down 0-3 to Lambo, it's like, well, Lambo's really good. He's one of the guys we talk about. Is definitely there's real possibilities here for him to go deep again, a top 4 or something. But what are you guys feeling for Mana? Because obviously he needs a very strong finish. Like, I mean, I guess if he gets like a top 8 or so, because the thing is, you look at the WCS circuit standings and they're pretty damn accurate. Like the people at the top, I remember last year in Montreal, like the top 8, 7 of them went to BlizzCon. Right. I was just like, look at that. It's just like, these are the best non-Korean players. And they even all made the top of this tournament, showing again why they're going to BlizzCon. But it seems like Mana probably needs a deep finish like that, like a top 8, a top 4.
Top 4, top 2, yeah.
I think if Mana gets through, it's going to be very much like watching Tightrope Walker. When Mana wins, when he got second place at Austin, it was like almost losing in the second group stage. I think he had some really narrow matches. And then the third group stage was like these crazy close, 2-1 series. And then every match was just like down to the deciding map. And, we all thought Snoot was going to stop him. And he just was like, I know Snoot's going to beat me in normal games. So he's doing cannon rushes and throwing him off with wild strategies. And Mana's good at that, at knowing, like, how he's going to kind of win a game. Like, he knows when the guy's just going to beat him straight up. And Mana's a player who's going to try and create a little bit of chaos. He's going to throw something a little bit wild in there. And if he can get it into this weird, intuitive, micro low economy situation, he is one of the absolute best, and he will always kind of outperform everybody there, because in these weird low economy spots, he's just very good at microing and being really decisive in a very strange situation. But it never looks easy when Mana beats good opponents. It never looks easy.
Yeah, so, he's like fighting in the trenches every time.
Exactly.
I don't have high hopes for him, but again, I didn't have high hopes for him coming. If you would have told me if you would have told me Mana is getting second at any WCS event this year, I'd be like, no, it's not happening, because we haven't seen him do that in such a long time, right? Yeah. So I mean, I'd love to see him do it. I mean, I'm not a hater on him. I'd love to see him continue to do it, but it just seems so hard for him to do it again.
I think there's definitely what Dan said has merit, though. He's maintained some level of consistency there. It hasn't just been a single flash in the pan moment. So if he can build upon that, I'm kind of with Dan in that it's very different to, pre-Austin. I was like, I was counting him out every match until he actually, like, by the semis, I was like, well, I keep being wrong. Maybe I should bet on him, at this point. And then he kept playing really well, and he almost beat Cyril. It was a close final. So it's hard to bet with Mana, but I definitely think he has a lot more of a shot than we would have given him before the year started.
Yes,
it's still
100%.
very up in the air, though. Very up in the air. So he's definitely a side case, a fringe case, I guess we'd call it.
Yeah. The one more guy before we start talking about the potential winners of this tournament, or maybe you think he's a potential winner. I feel like this guy, he reminds me of Dark a little bit from the Korean scene, right? Where it's like we all give him mass respect, but where are the championships? It's Euthermal, right? I mean, everyone knows he's super good. He's one of the players where you just watch him play. You're like, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. But here he's sitting in 12th place. He's kind of low on points, right? He's 320 points behind 8th right now. He had a good finish in Valencia for sure, right? But like, what are we feeling about
I think
right now?
I think the sad thing with Euthermal was his Austin run, where he came down with pneumonia.
Pneumonia, right?
It was pneumonia. Yeah. So he kind of went out early, and people were like, "Oh wow, Euthermal went out a bit early. This is a bit unexpected." He went down to True and Mana in some very close matches, and he was I don't know, he didn't use it as an excuse or anything, but the next day he was in hospital getting treated for pneumonia. So I think that was a little bit sad. I don't think he was performing his best there. And then losing to Hero Marine in Valencia is really not that bad a thing. He took down Snoot, went to the round of 8. You said it before, Dan, these standings are accurate. I think rank 11th kind of represents his average over the year, right? He's kind of been good. He hasn't really been. We don't list him when we list Serral, when we list a laser, when we list Special and Neeb and Showtime. He's not listed in there. I probably shouldn't put a laser there right at this exact moment because he hasn't been quite there this year. But the Specials, the Neebs, Euthermal hasn't been on that level in maybe a year's time. Consistently, anyway. He has these flashes of brilliance, but not consistently.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Euthermal is one of those people that can be just such a monster, but isn't really showing up right now. I don't know. I feel like this year for him has been like one of those like real life years. You know what I mean? Where like you have life things going on. But I mean, I hope if he puts his mind to it and he actually just like full Euthermals it. Like I don't know how else to explain it. That he can, do so well. He can actually win. He has been a champion before.
Yeah. It's been a bit, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't count him to be the champion of Montreal, but I do think he could totally show up and be a round of 8, round of 4 player.
Well, okay. On this note, I want to talk about who you guys think could actually win. Right? I kind of tried to strategically skip a certain set of players that I think are going to be, for the most part, in that group. But who do you guys think can actually take the victory here? Because I generally have a decent list of 5-6 guys. Right now, I feel like I have about 4 guys that I'm really looking at. But what do you guys think?
I mean, the first would be Serral, right?
Yes.
Like I don't think any of us will disagree on that one.
He can't win this one. There's no statistically, it's impossible.
Yeah. So I think Serral,
in addition,
I have high hopes for Special. I think Special's been putting in so much effort this entire year, and he's gotten eliminated so many times the round of 4 that it's possible that he could, he can break whatever curse he has and get through the round of 4 and actually win. I think
whatever
Special
curse he has. Isn't that how he lost one of those recent tournaments?
Yeah. Well, Special. Well, let me finish, okay? Special versus Serral, actually, result-wise, I don't think it's that bad for Special. Statistically, I'm not 100% sure, but I know he's talked about it, and he says he's pretty confident against Serral. He just needs to get there.
Yeah.
So I think Special is certainly somebody who can show up and win. I think Neeb and Showtime are also perfectly capable of taking out Serral. And I think that the top 4 in WCF standings are probably all champion caliber. It's funny that those are the people that I really would count on possibly winning.
Oh, wow. I just did a stats check for you. Statsman Pig on the case. And overall, Special is 6-4, 60% in games, and 3-1 in matches against Serral.
That's pretty good. That's good.
of course, they're spread. They are spread out, and it's kind of funny. So Special 1-0'd Cyril in 2016. He 3-1'd him in 2017, and Cyril 3-1'd him this year in 2018. And that's the story kind of Cyril's ascension as well, right?
Right.
Special was one of the players stopping Cyril last year and the year before that. And now Cyril's kind of the big boss. But I think it's not at that point where you've got this mental block or anything. I agree with you. Absolutely, Jake. He's one of the scary dudes up there. I think Showtime is the one I really have my eye on, other than Cyril, as being the potential Kingslayer. The Jamie Lannister nerd is going to come in and maybe do something there. I think Showtime has enough experience with Cyril, with games which he would win versus anyone else in the same strategic situation, which he then loses, because Cyril he's like some weird, I don't know. I feel like if you're playing PvZ against Cyril, it's like you're in that mirror maze in that James Bond movie where you're going through and like walls are opening. The dude knows the whole maze and he's popping out and shooting at you, and you're filled with these like rotating, shimmering things, and it's just crazy because the number of games where I think Cyril's dead against Protoss and then he wins, it gives him this almost immortal sort of aura around him. And I think back to Showtime's tweet after Nation Wars, where he did the charge load all in. Yeah, and he was just like, why won't this guy just die or something? Like, how do you kill Cyril? There was this like frustrated tongue-in-cheek kind of quote from Showtime, and that kind of, I was like, okay, yes, I can see Showtime made some mistakes. He should have focused down the hatcheries and the drones and gone elsewhere. But it's those situations which Cyril repeatedly kind of finds a way out of. He did it against Stats in the GSL versus the World Finals on Darkness Sanctuary, the game where Dan was screaming about, like, wait, no drones died during that giant surprise charge slot arc on surround on the roaches. Like, it's just crazy. So that's a very scary thing. And that's the one thing which makes me think there's like this irrational part of my brain that just says a Protoss player can't beat Cyril unless he starts playing like the game differently. But then on the other part, the rational part says Showtime's good enough and smart enough to not just go Oracle into X every game and like be predictable. He will take big risks to throw Cyril off. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So wait, your whole list of possible winners, Pig?
I mean, it's the same as you guys. Like, it's Showtime, it's Neeb, it's Cyril, and it's Special.
Okay.
I think those are the big four right now.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna throw a little bit of a wrench into this and say that I'm still looking at a laser as a possible champion here. Okay, like I feel like his exact skill set is so good for winning tournaments, and like just I can't forget all the crazy things that I heard from Korean players about his level and how good he is. And I know he hasn't put out this year, but yeah, I'm kind of looking at those top four plus a laser as like, you know, these are people who can really actually take it down. Although I'm starting to lose faith a little bit in Special because he's kind of like being a little bit of a Sue. Where like he's
that's my worry too.
Yeah, but does he have too many mental blocks? Like, how many top fours does he have? It's crazy. He has like 8 or something.
Yeah.
The one thing is, I think he's not cursed or like, you know, I don't think he's like at Sue level. I think he can break it. He shows so much skill. I feel like he's been robbed every time. I don't know how to explain it, but I do think he can break.
Well, he's had some bad luck too. Like how many matches did he have against Neeb last year where it's like, oh, there's your gatekeeper. He's back. Yeah. It's like, oh.
I definitely think he can overcome it, and I would not be surprised if he wins this event.
Yeah. Are you guys feeling Cyril is the actual champion though? Or has Neeb impressed you enough at this point? Has he done enough for you to gain your support?
I'm trying to think of Neeb or Showtime, which one I would give the edge against Cyril in the finals. Like, it's hard for me to say for sure. So I think Neeb actually has a worse record versus Zerg, especially when I watch him versus Dark and other people. I feel like he just gets slapped so hard that I don't think he would be as good against Cyril as Showtime. But at the same time, yeah, as I was going to say, at the same time, he just beat Rogue. He also looked absolutely insane against TY. I know it's a different matchup, but, you know, if you have that kind of skill at this matchup, you can definitely apply that to another. So it's hard for me to say which one I would really prefer. So okay. I don't know. I think both of them have a good shot, though. I think this will probably be the closest WCS this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. The gap is closing, as they say.
Yeah, the gap is closing.
Except we're talking about the gap between Cyril and everybody else nowadays, not the Koreans, and that's just the most amazing thing, isn't it? Isn't that just so weird?
Yeah. he's losing more maps than before, so it's a sign, right? It's a sign.
Making news in the Starcraft scene, Cyril dropped 2 maps this challenger. Everyone's like, "Oh my god!" Right? And
my favorite memes are like when the Koreans are like, "What part of Finland is Korean?" and stuff like that.
Oh man.
Speaking of that, just one last quick thing. True? Any chance there? I was viewing True for a long time as a guy who could come in and do some upsets because of the ZVZ matchup, but I feel like the Europeans have gotten so good at that, I don't feel that way as much anymore.
I don't see True as a champion, but certainly, round of 16, round of 8, I wouldn't be surprised.
My friend.
No, I mean like right now, I don't see him as the champion of like. There's like, my mind would be absolutely fucking blown away if he even makes second place at this tournament. Like it would be insane to me.
I think round of 8 is the glass ceiling. Style. Just
right
the way he's playing at the moment, or at least his level, I don't see him going past
round of 8 would be a good placement. Like that,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like I would be impressed with a round of 8 with True right now.
All right. Well, that's just about that.
Person I feel we're sleeping a little bit on too right now is Hero Marine. Like, I don't think he can be a champion per se, but at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me insanely. Like, I don't know how to explain this. Whereas, like, it would blow my mind if True did it, or it would blow my mind if Haas did it, or whatever. If Hero Marine did it, it would blow my mind a little bit less than all the other people. Like, I don't. Yeah. I think he could totally get second or top 4 for sure, which we didn't.
Yeah, I guess so. It's kind of like one of those things where you look at it and be like, well, it was probably eventually going to happen, right?
Right.
Like, you jump 4 years ahead of time, and there's been WCS 4 stops a year at that point, and you tell future Jake 4 years from now that Hero Marine just fizzled out and never did anything, you'd be like, oh, really?
After climbing the ladder for 8 years, that's surprising.
Yeah. Or I guess that future Jake would time travel back to this Jake. Anyways, you don't want to meet your future self. You'll get erased or something like that. I mean, cool stuff. I like hearing what you guys have to say about WCS Montreal. And everyone check that out this coming weekend. Pig, you'll be commentating. No Regret, you'll be playing. How do you feel about your chances, No Regret?
I don't know. I've been stepping away as like I'm going to be one of those guys who says like, I'm retiring or whatever, but I haven't been playing like nearly as much as I used to, seriously. Mm-hmm. And I've been taking a step and enjoying it, and I've been doing the other stuff. The Team House has been my priority, casting's been my priority. So I don't have huge expectations. Like before, when I signed up, I wanted, top 16, top 32. If that was the goal. If I didn't get it, I'd be devastated. But if I didn't get it now, it wouldn't bother me at all.
Mm-hmm. No pressure. Time to get a round of 8, Jake.
If I get round of 8 now, I don't know. I just retire from casting.
What if you win and you go to BlizzCon? What happens then?
I don't even know. I mean, that was
over.
Because then people can shit talk WCS as well as GSL. You're like, well, I mean, No Regret did it.
Apparently, you only need Zerglings and Bailings to win a WCS tournament.
About like how GSL's levels decreasing because No Regret got in. It was so dumb. Like Neeb doesn't get in because of like Hurricane knocks Neeb out or something, and I knock out Impact. Like, well, GSL's clearly gone down in skill. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? Literally the same tournament,
Yeah.
Fucking guys on Reddit.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to switch this over. Check out the WCS Montreal. It's going to be amazing. I know I'll be watching on the Starcraft channel this coming weekend. It starts like a day and 16 hours from now or so, as you said, Pig. Okay, on to the priority questions. We're going to rip through these.
I know
my
favorite part.
Late there. Yeah, hopefully it's not as bad as last week. All right. These are our priority questions from our Patreon guys. So if you want to check us out, The Pylon Show on patreon.com.
Before we start these, I have an editor's note from the production director of StarCraft 2. Tim would like me to mention the fact that this week, the Tychus pack is now available with the co-op commander and versus commander. It's available for sale.
Is it out now?
Oh, that's right.
It is out now.
Oh!
It is released.
Ooh.
You would like us to mention that.
I'm squealing in excitement here. Cool.
We will add that to the show notes and link that in chat.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'll go purchase that. Although I haven't.
Now, whenever anyone in my stream asks me to play co-op, and I'm like, I actually have to play a bunch because that commander actually looks really cool. So looking forward to it.
It does.
Should be fun.
Okay, back
Tychus
to you,
is definitely
Artosis.
my favorite character from the storyline. I think he had all the right ideas, and this love story needs to end. Okay. Here we go. Priority Patreon questions. From Milty. If your life force was tied to a piece of cake, what kind of cake would it be, and who would you entrust with said cake?
Oh, I know mine. Mine would be one, because I tried this once. It was a blue cheese cheesecake.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally the worst tasting thing ever. It just tastes like concentrated blue cheese that you've cooked to amplify the already sharp taste of it. So no one will ever eat this because I don't want it. It was about like my life force is getting stored in this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously you want someone that's not going to eat it. So not only is it disgusting, trying to think of someone who's really skinny and looks like they don't enjoy food a lot. So I am going to go with, I think Probe. I'm going to go with Probe, my man.
From shit. He's allergic to everything, too.
He's allergic to everything, and he's very slim. There's no way he would eat it. He would protect that with his life because he's a good bro as well.
Well, you win this round.
I would not have thought about that, but I'm definitely giving it to Probe now, too. He's going to protect my cake as well.
Excellent. I think I'd be an ice cream cake and just
that's
like
terrible.
It would just melt.
Yeah, what the fuck?
No, you have to.
That's awful.
Myself to
Your
someone.
power goes out and you literally just die.
No,
Artosis just vanishes. What if it's
sitting on the glaciers of Antarctica? No, it doesn't get warm enough to melt cake there.
Oh, you're putting the cake in. Who lives in Antarctica that you know? Don't you have to give it to somebody?
Researchers.
You know these people?
I don't know them, but if there's a sentient cake that wants to go to Antarctica, I bet you bring it
You
there.
think if you put a cake in Antarctica, nobody's going to eat it?
Not if you put it out in the ice where people don't go.
Dan,
penguins are going to eat it or some shit.
Hungry polar bears are?
Yeah, what the fuck?
You not notice?
You know they're literally vanishing. They're vanishing off.
You think they're not going to eat some ice cream cake? Dude, they would destroy some ice cream cake if they come across that.
Look at these kids thinking they know anything about the polar regions of our Earth. Polar bears are only in the northern hemisphere, guys.
What about penguins?
Why I said, yeah, the penguins are down there, but they're not at the South Pole. There's nothing at the South Pole that. Okay.
No, you said
everything's
Antarctica?
on the edges of Antarctica.
Okay.
What about Russians?
You got me there.
Aren't there Russians down there?
Yeah, there's people from every country down there.
Yeah, there's going to be somebody's going to stumble upon it. They're going to be like, what the fuck? There's a cake here. $10
but
you
find
eat it.
You find a cake outside and you eat it.
I mean, $10 is $10.
Oh my!
Scientists are going to guard sentient.
So that you don't eat things for $10.
I licked a speaker for $10 once. I mean, $10 is $10, man. Okay,
that's fair enough. Okay, next question from some drunk Canadian for everyone who is currently the most underrated SC2 or Brood War content creator. Is the community doing enough to support newer content creators? How important is it that we have new content creators for the longevity of Starcraft 2 and Brood War? Thanks, guys. Sending much love from the Great White North.
Nice.
Who is the most underrated content producer? Who is it?
Joey. Nice username. Some of the best meme videos and compilations. Not to mention he's got some of that.
I don't think he's underrated. I think people put him up there as one of the best content creators.
I think the really hardcore inner circle of people do, but I don't think there's enough of the more casual fans who know about Joey and his content yet, I guess. Like, unless something pops on Reddit and gets like a lot of upvotes, I feel like a lot of people don't know about it, but like everything he puts out is good. I love Joey.
I don't know, I feel like he gets a lot of exposure. I don't think he's underrated at all. I'm trying to think of someone who doesn't get any exposure, but I feel like everyone who does good content gets the exposure that's,
I think it's
I guess new people better. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we try to put some of those people out here.
Maybe someone like
have you watched Printf's videos, Jake?
Yeah, Printf's good. But I don't think he's underexposed either. I think he's got a lot of exposure. Right?
Do you think anyone with more than 50 views has a lot of exposure?
Mate, what do you want? Do you want everyone to have 10,000 viewers? Like,
I'm learning a lot about your
I put in like 20 hours or 30 hours, 40 hours of work on videos, and then they get like 1,000 views. Like, and these videos are like fucking like cinema quality, like 4K. We got fucking drones flying around and shit. We have the best player in the world doing interviews about how, like, he lived in a poor country and now he's the best pro gamer in the world, and we get 1,000 views. I don't give a fuck what you got, okay? If you get 500 views, your content is doing good, okay? I may be projecting, but I don't know.
The real answer to this question is no regret is the most underappreciated.
No, yes.
Yeah. We got there in the end. Jake took us on a journey, but now we know his answer without him saying it. He got us to say it. Okay, thanks.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just think that it's reasonable. Like, the exposure is very reasonable. Like, that we're getting a lot of our content. I don't think any of our content's super underwatched right now. Is what I'm trying to say. Maybe I think some of science stuff is like criminally underwatched. I also think a lot of ES Champ stuff is criminally underwatched. Mm-hmm. Like, that stuff is, we're talking like 20, 30 viewers or whatever.
Every week I feel like I'm announcing something great for ES Champ that I'm like, oh, I wish I would do that.
They're both in the show notes, people.
Yeah. Check out the show notes. That's how you can help these content creators, guys. All right. Next question from Alisaunder to Jake. TY and Rainer both started so young. Have they talked?
Have they talked?
Have they talked?
Have they talked?
And like, have they spoken to each other? I think is the. I think that's what the question.
So they any funny interaction stories or anything?
I don't have anything that comes to mind. I mean, like they've had conversations minimally because TY doesn't speak amazing English. You can't have like a philosophical like, do we have free will conversation with TY? But I think they've definitely conversed.
Philosophical, do we have free will conversation?
Like,
yeah. Okay.
I think what you're asking is if they've like talked about like being a young pro gamer and like their history and all that stuff. No, they haven't really like related on that level yet. Yeah, I mean, that would be great though if they did. I just don't think TY has the English initiative to do that, which is not a problem. Just
I think because he's a lot older and
right.
Like
TY is also not 16 at this. Like if they were both 16 now, they could probably relate a ton more. Like Clem and Rainer could probably have the talk better, but
we should try to do a pilot episode with the young kids.
Yeah, that would be sick with both of them.
Those two in future from America, that'd be great.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, I have all these pipe dreams of shows that no one will ever agree to do. Okay, next question from Aries. After saying he was not feeling great after a long plane ride, Maru monster punched Gumio to the moon. Apparently, he dealt with jet lag well, but others don't. And control Artosis and hopefully a current SC2 Pro. Yay, Jake is here. How did you deal with jet lag and travel for events you were competing in or possibly casting / producing? Secondly, favorite travel destination. Last second edition. P.S. I love you, Jake.
I love you too, buddy.
Jake fan, how do you deal with jet lag? I think it's a great question for you considering you live further away from everyone than everyone else.
Me?
Yeah, you first.
Actually, for me, jet lag is not too bad. I don't know. I have this ability to sleep on planes relatively well, I guess. Depends on if my feet or my legs are completely squished up against the seat in front of me or not because I'm pretty tall. But generally, I have an okay ability to sleep. And generally, I'm okay playing with a decent amount of, sleep deprivation. I've actually practiced a lot with it. As a player, I actually did that. Like I woke up like 5 hours, 4 hours, and then practiced. So like jet lag doesn't affect me as much as other people. But really, I think the biggest thing you can do to actually, like if you're just a random person or a normal person, to improve jet lag is to fly in 1 or 2 days early and, fix your schedule. Like you got to just police it, wake up early and take naps. I think you should reasonably be able to fix jet lag within 1 or 2 days of flying in.
I think it depends, but melatonin can help. Just the standard things, getting a lot of sunlight at your new destination, resetting, making sure you immediately swap once you're there. And you can lessen it by, I've heard this recommended. I tried it like once, but it was really hard. So I haven't really done it since then. Since I don't compete anymore and I don't need to be like 110% like you do as a player. But people will do the 1 hour every night. So they're like, okay, tournament's 10 days from now. I'm going to start going to sleep like 1 hour earlier each night. And that takes real commitment. I know Snoot's been really good at doing that in the past. Like he does it for online cups and stuff, where he'll change his sleep schedule for like an online important finals where there's a few $1,000s on the line. And he'll also do that sometimes, I think, in preparation for coming overseas. Because just one day is really hard. It kind of depends when you play as well. If you've got to play one
or your
GSL
flight
match,
too. I mean, like,
bad. Yeah.
If your flight's at like 6 or 5 a.m., that's completely throw out everything you just did, right? Like some flights, if flights at 10 p.m., then obviously you're supposed to be sleeping at 8 or 9 p.m. Then obviously you can't. You're just it won't work.
Yeah.
Right. So
like I remember
on that.
There's always like a point, right? You guys would have had this where like there's always a certain point where it's like this is the time I'd normally be asleep, but it's actually the middle of the day or something, and that's where it always hits you. And there's like a few hour period, which is the worst.
Yeah.
And I find that lasts for at least like 4 or 5 days if it's like a really big time gap that I've traveled. So it depends where I've traveled to. The worst used to be when I went Australia to Europe, biggest time difference I can possibly have.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have to play in the evening at night. Like between like 7 p.m. to like 10 p.m. midnight is just like the worst time, because European time, that's like the middle of the night, 4 a.m. kind of region back home in Australia. So it didn't matter what I did. I was going to be off during those games, and just like trying to do all that other stuff we talked about, trying to drink Red Bull would help, but you can't perfectly do it unless you give yourself a lot more time. So let's go to, sorry for blathering. Traditional sports will come in 2 weeks early, or sometimes, they'll come in a lot earlier because they know it takes a lot of time to acclimatize. So like Olympians and stuff, obviously for them, it's also partly climate, humidity and stuff, but it's also the jet lag. So they always give themselves a lot more time than we do in esports, because you can't afford to send players in a week or 2 weeks early.
Or
and
even
where the
players
hell are they
who
going to
want
practice? You don't want to go practice in some weird environment for 2 weeks, be eating strange food and get thrown off that way either. It's really tough.
Yeah. But, I would say for me, for jet lag, I do use melatonin like Pig mentioned. Sunlight is the ultimate. If it is sunny where you are, go outside and walk around in the sun. And if you do that, you will actually just wake up and be like really awake, and your body will get in a rhythm very quickly. Yeah, those are the main things I do personally. Okay, from Broodweiser. Do you think Zerg has changed as much as the other two races across HOTS and Legacy of the Void? It feels like it's still all about Zerglings, Banelings, Roaches, and Mutas and Broodlords. Meanwhile, the other races get all kinds of crazy. What do you guys think as Zerg players?
I think Zerg's changed a ton. At some point, no one made Hydras at all. Like at the Heart of the Swarm, it was not a thing to go Lingbane Hydra. That was very rare, like extremely rare. It was Roach Hydra or Lingbane Muta. There was no like mix of both. It was, and Lingbane Muta was like 80, 70%, and then that completely vanished. And now we have some weird hybrid between both Roach Hydra and Lingbane for a while. And now we're going back into like the meta has been like evolving like crazy. I don't think there's any stagnant or any like, I think it's just as much as the other matchups. We can go from Marine Tank to Marine Widowline to like whatever.
Yeah, like Lurkers against Protoss as well have been a massive game changer. But yeah, even just the Hydras, right? And it's also the combo of what Hydras allow, right? Because Hydras allow a Baneling composition to have more longevity, right? So like it's the combination of the Hydras and the Banelings and the creep spread which allows Zerg to be so much more flexible. And it's in Heart of the Swarm, if you saw a Zerg down in supply against a Protoss or a Terran, usually things were looking very, very bad, right? In Legacy of the Void, Zergs regularly win fights with less army supply. It happens all the time now because the units are higher quality. So I remember having to go through a mental change where I realized I didn't need as much low-value stuff as Zerg to win games in Legacy. And it was much more like, I can have the same economy as the Terran or the Protoss. At a certain point, yeah, they always catch up to you or even get ahead of you in economy and Legacy. But it's much more about creep spread and engagements once you get up to that mid-game army, and you can turn games around a lot more, as opposed to the classic Heart of the Swarm or Wings of Liberty. I've got Roaches and I'm butting up against my supply cap, and I've got no way to deal with force fields, and I've got no way to deal with like Colossi without building this really terrible Corruptor unit. So I think just the Lurker and the Hydra changes Zerg completely, but it's not in like a very in-your-face way. Like, oh, it's a brand new unit, No, but it's changed a lot. So I think it's a big difference, and Zerg is very strong.
Cool. Great answers. All right, next one from Kornovsky. He says he's new here and likes the show. He writes StarCraft 2 articles for esports.com. And, you know, we were talking about this StarCraft community kind of lacks a go-to website for StarCraft content. We kind of have Team Liquid and we kind of have Reddit. But he just wonders, you know, how do you get people to identify a website as kind of the place that's agreed upon for people to go to? He's wondering.
I have no idea.
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
I don't know how I would comment on this. So I think these trends kind of are out of our control, to be honest. Like the more popular they become, the more popular they become. It's kind of like a snowball effect. And I don't know really what initiates that.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's like, you know, there's this part of me that's like, I don't know, man, go ask all of the traditional print media that's having trouble getting people to go to their websites. Like it's really hard to drive content towards your websites. And if I think about it in terms of the stuff I do have experience in, that I've got friends who run viral websites, like BuzzFeed type websites. That's the sort of websites where there's a formula which is proven to drive content, but that's not just regular good coverage, right? That's like, hey, look, this guy on Twitter, his puppy posted a puppy of his puppy, and he hadn't seen him for a year, and then he came home and the puppy was happy. Yeah, we're gonna post this as if it's an article, and you're like, what is this website? This is just reposting random viral stuff, and there might be some news or reporting mixed in with that. But I think it's like something which, I don't think any of us has experience with, right? So it's really hard.
It's not really something you can emulate with StarCraft content either.
And maybe it's probably part of the reason why the viral stuff is. You see this a lot, like with YouTube titles to videos,
thumbnails and shit.
Yeah, it's like all the
clickbait
points. Yeah, this is just the way that people get.
Maybe you could do like 5 quick trips to be a WCS champion from Neeb or whatever, and then that will
Yeah,
that's enough clickbait.
Actually, I know. You guys heard about the big the YouTube boxing matches, right? Like the fights they had.
Yeah.
We just got to have that in StarCraft.
Oh my God.
Website needs to sponsor it. So if there's a website that wants to become the new hub, they're like, all right, guys, we're going to kick off. We're going to launch with a bang.
Neeb versus Harold boxing.
Yeah, like who do you want to fight, Dan? Like if we could get you up there. Yeah.
I want to fight.
Yeah, you gotta fight
I want to fight Tasis. I need to take that.
I mean, we would probably break the internet.
That would be tough, though. He's got longer arms than me.
Yeah, he's also like trying to work out and shit. So
he's in a higher weight class than I am. I don't know what to do about
it. You just wrestle you to the ground, man. I don't know though. Yeah, it's a tough question. Hey.
What about you? What would you fight, Pig?
Who would I fight? Oh, dude. If it wasn't, I think I'd be way out of the weight class and size class. But like, if I could shrink myself, I would fight Avalo for sure. I think like I'd be like way heavier than him, so it wouldn't be fair. But if I could shrink myself, that would be a fun fight. I think.
I want to see No Regret versus Harston. I think that would be.
Amazing. That would be great. Yeah, I'm a little heavy. If I lost a bit of weight, I think we'd actually be pretty even.
Yeah, you guys are both just giant nerds.
That'd be great.
Thank you for that question. We don't really know the answer.
I don't know how we got into boxing from that, but yeah.
Sorry, guys. I'm pretty jet lagged. I'm just derailing. I'm derailing. That's all I'm here for.
You're making it amazing, Pig. Thank you. Next question from Blinker. As a full-fledged adult with disposable income but not much disposable time, what's the best way to support content creators? A specific amount of money each month for subs and donations to spread around the scene. Is this the most efficient way, or do I need to do something else?
I think that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Like, this is you are a content creator. This is like, how you pay your bills. So do you think that that's a good way to approach something like this?
I think it's like whatever gives you joy. I wouldn't like put it on like someone to like feel like, oh, I just like I need to do the thing that'll help support like the scene, even if I don't necessarily like
your quota or some shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just like, look, if the Pylon show gives you joy, support their Patreon.
I agree.
And like if you like a few things, then spread it around and just support what you like. I think there's, if you don't have much time, you want to just, spend a bit of money into to fuel the things you like. Just, things like the Patreon for that.
Patreon's good for that stuff.
You're doing tournaments on Matcherino that you do your like hidden name tournament and stuff. You guys kind of raise money for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
You just, I think it's perfectly reasonable. You should definitely be supporting the people you enjoy. Like, I don't think there should be some quota of like, I've got to spread my money as thin as possible around everybody. But like, I think if you want easy, Patreon's really easy. I mean, it happens. It's like an annual thing. You don't have to really touch, right? So like, you just put your money there if you want. If you support the or Pylon, you do $25 a month or whatever. It'll keep going. So I think that's probably the best way. Or the most
If you don't have money, upvote it on Reddit, retweet it on Twitter, share it around.
Yeah. That's a very good point, because just quite often I actually have people that I meet. They're like, oh, I don't have the money for subscribing to your channel or something, but I love to watch. I'm like, oh, you don't need to worry about that. Just like having people enjoy the
viewers too.
Most important part.
And if you've got a lot of passion and time, you can go the extra mile and you can write out the most beautiful, highlighted, capitalized, colorized show notes ever for a show that you enjoy. Like we apparently now have. Alisaunder. Dude, I was just looking through the show notes and I was actually sitting there. I was like, what happened? I was like, Matt Cobra Venom?
Yeah, I thought Matt had way too much time on his hands.
I was like,
this guy doesn't have a job or something.
And he's done like the most amazing job I've ever seen on these notes. I was like, what is happening?
I don't have this kind of time. That's why I'm.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, holy shit, man. He's got way too much time on his hands.
It's quite beautiful. All right. Thank you for that question. On to the next from Uterup. Hello. Couple of Protoss questions. One, I've seen some streamers do Forge Fast Expand builds for Zerg, and it works like a charm in lowly Platinum League, but pros never do it. So I suppose that means it's not technically viable. Do you think Forge Fast Expand is a weak opening? Why does it work in SC2 when it has been a long staple in Brood War?
Oh, you take out the FE. You just get the Forge Cannon Rush. That's the shit right now, okay? You don't even need to expand.
You definitely can't cannon expand. You need to get your tech out on time. StarCraft 2 is a very sharp game.
Like the biggest thing is you don't need the Forge to survive, so that's why no one makes it. Like Forge Fast Expand in Brood War and other games, like the cannons
you literally need cannons to stay alive or you're dead.
Exactly.
They'll kill you with anything that they want if you don't have cannons.
In StarCraft 2, it's not the case at all. You're perfectly safe opening gate next. You're perfectly safe opening Nexus first sometimes. Like you don't need the Forge at all. You just get your adepts up and scout around and stuff. So you're actually hurting yourself by building a Forge and a cannon because then you don't have the adepts for vision. Mm-hmm. Like that's why people don't do it.
All right. And second part of the question, would it improve PvP if force fields could block adept shades? Or is it fine in its present state? Or you just need to drop a building?
I don't think it changes anything. If people have force field, they probably still use pylons and stuff. You don't want to use your energy. You need that for hallucinations. So literally nothing would change, I don't think. At least in the early game.
It helps against like the surprise attacks, like more. Yeah, it definitely like because there's a lot of those big adept timings. They've swung back into the meta in a big way right now. Dan, you've been casting a lot of these games. It's been kind of funky to see them coming back, right?
They mostly lost, but they're definitely back.
I mean, like the biggest thing too is if you're building sentries to deal with adepts, you're probably dead. To be honest, like sentries are awful against adepts.
But
and like the higher numbers.
Force fields blocked the adepts. Maybe it's the cooldown is pretty quick on those.
Yeah, you just
like that efficient.
If you're another thing is like if you miss any force field at all, the adepts are just going to flow through that gap and kill you. So and plus you have sentries on the other side, which are like the squishiest units adepts can kill. Like I don't think it changes much, to be honest.
Yeah, probably not. All right, thank you for the question. From Apor, who's your dark horse choice for Montreal? So it can't be someone that you guys mentioned that you think could take it. What is your actual dark horse?
Hero Marine. I mean, I kind of mentioned it, but I think Hero Marine's the
Well, then you can't use him.
I mean, I didn't say he was going to be a champion, so I think Hero Marine.
All right. What about you, Pig?
Sorry, I'm trolling chat. What were we asking?
Oh my!
What is your dark horse to win? It can't be someone that we talked about that was like a possible winner. Who's your dark horse to win Montreal?
Seether, my Aussie man. Yeah, he's sitting there at like rank 19, so he gets top 2. He makes it. Yeah, Seether's gonna come out punching, come out swinging, man. Okay. He's getting more big tournament experience.
You think Seether's a chance of winning Montreal?
Yeah, dark horse chance. So
dark horse. That's the question. Okay. I think you misunderstand what dark horse is.
No, I mean, it's fine.
Who did you say, Jake?
Hero Marine.
That's okay. Yeah. I mean, okay.
That's okay.
Dan said no one we'd talked about. So we
I'll go with
talked about.
Okay.
I'll go with TLS. It's my dark horse.
Yeah. Me and Dan got true dark horses.
Yeah.
Okay, I go with Haas then. We didn't talk about Haas.
We did at the start, but that's
Well,
okay,
I mean,
Jake.
If we mention their name, we're not allowed to use them. What the fuck?
It's all right,
Yeah,
Jake.
you
Don't
can use-
worry. You'll learn. You know, it's all right. You know, I know
Okay,
you quit school.
I think-
to pro gaming. It's all right. Your learnings aren't so good. It's all right, Jake. Don't worry.
Okay.
Me and Papatosis are here.
No problem.
We'll help you out.
Okay.
If Haas wins, though, that's the whole world is different at that point. Thank you for the question.
whole world is different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next
It's a
question from
diplomatic way of putting it.
Shampoo McTavish. Hey guys, there has never been any question that we have not, in fact, had a Bourgeois in StarCraft 2. However, considering Maru is quite close to winning his third GSL in a row, how far away is he from being named the first SC2 Bourgeois? Will the third GSL in a row be enough? Will he have to win BlizzCon as well? What about Super Tournament? I know Bourgeois are decided based on consensus in the community, so it might be hard to predict, but I'm interested in hearing what you guys think about Maru's possibilities. I always wonder where Cyril would be at the discussion if you won both Montreal and BlizzCon. Okay, so if I could go first on this real quick, because I think this is almost...
This term's more for you guys at every Broodwar.
Well, so Bourgeois basically just means the ultimate dominating player that is favored to win absolutely every event and just wins, right? I think that if Cyril wins Montreal and BlizzCon, maybe you could start to try to talk about that, but I think it's almost hard to talk about it if you're not talking about GSLs, which leaves us back at Maru. But if Maru wins Super Tournament, this GSL and BlizzCon, you could probably call him a Bourgeois because he won BlizzCon with Cyril at it. Cyril being in the equation makes it a lot harder to have a Bourgeois, I think, because he's not playing in a lot of these tournaments.
I just feel like the gap isn't large enough to call anyone one. You know what I mean?
Well, that is why we haven't had one.
Completely untouchable, right? And also, I think the time period isn't long enough. Like when we're talking a couple, 6-7 months, like I don't think that's necessarily long enough to say this person's completely dominant. So I think the skill level's too close to say it for any Maru or Cyril. I think there's lots of people that can dethrone them. Like, sure, it doesn't happen that much, but the fact that they can be dethroned is not really the essence of Bourgeois, right? So I don't know.
Okay. Any thoughts on that, Pig?
Yeah, I think, Bourgeois is this like term where it's kind of from a time before, I guess, I even really followed StarCraft. So I'm always like, I always err on the side of, no, we'll wait a little bit until they're a bit more dominant. I think at the moment, Maru and Cyril are both, their runs this year are parallel. Wax was pointing this out a month or so ago. It's crazy if you look at them. It's like one is just bam dominating, Korea. One is bam dominating WCS. We got to see a bit of a clash at GSL versus the world, but we didn't get to see those two play in the finals, which I think was the one sad missed opportunity is Maru versus Cyril. But that's what BlizzCon's for. Those two are going to play in the grand finals, and it's going to be two worlds colliding. We're literally going to need to summon Kalaris over, and he's going to need to bring out all of the hype, because it's going to be epic.
I wish there was more games in the finals of BlizzCon,
Oh, yeah.
Like our best of 7 doesn't seem like enough if we get a Maru versus Cyril. Like there should be a best of 13 or something. Like a whole new day of just StarCraft.
We made it to map 12 here because they are tied up.
I would fucking watch it. I would watch it.
We've got to go into Zelnaga Caverns next,
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thank you for the question. From Concordia, it's a question about the translation. The Korean translation that we have, where Tasteless translates the interviews, it's someone talking into our ears. Our Korean is okay. It's not completely fluent. It's like localized. And a similar question for Jake. Any of the non-Koreans at the team house, are any of them good at speaking or reading Korean?
I think Sasha's pretty good. I think Special knows a lot of words we can't read. I don't know why, but like he knows a lot of words. And Neeb is like a complete fucking dark horse for Korean. I don't know how the hell he does it, but his Korean is pretty good. He doesn't like me saying this, but it's really good. And apparently he's done it by learning like K-pop and K-dramas, which is insane. But like, we've tested him with like our producer, a GSL producer. Like people know and have tested him. It's not like I'm completely making this up. It's surprising though.
I think he's just smarter than the rest of us.
Yeah, he just like puts things together like that you should never be able to do. He's just a genius.
He's Neeb. What do you want?
I have left conversations with that guy feeling significantly stupider, actually. Like, Neeb's one of those humans when I talk to him about StarCraft, and he's just explaining things like as if it's so simple, and I'm like, you're a genius.
when I've talked to him about my Protoss woes and stuff a couple of times, he responds with like a sentence of like 4 words, and I feel stupid. I'm like, of course. All right, thank you for that question from Gildelin. Speaking of Bonjour, when Tempo makes Grandmaster, will you call him Bonjour just like his name was Flash? Also, when he finally releases his new song, he's been threatening us. Will you have him on as a panelist?
Panelist for what?
Bonjour when he makes Grandmaster. We just went over the Bonjour question, but if he releases a new song, sure. Yeah, I like Tempo.
Like a panelist on the pylon?
Yeah, I would imagine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could be guest panelist, something like that. It's not a game.
There should be a Patreon goal. Get Tempo on for an episode, but he's only allowed to answer questions in song.
Yeah. Perfect. All right,
I support this.
Yeah. that would be a good one. We would get that would be a great show to have Tastes on. He's really good at making up songs. None of you guys know this because he never does it on GSL, but like he makes up little songs all the time that are hilarious. All right. From Hyper Turtle. So an Artosis pylon is a pylon powering multiple important structures all by itself. A Tasis pylon is a second pylon providing redundancy to an Artosis pylon. And an in-control pylon is an Artosis pylon. What characteristics? That's a good summary. What characteristics does a pylon require to gain a namesake of another caster? I'm assuming a Todd pylon both provides supply and urges you to look at it, but I can't find any definitions for Nathanius, Rotterdam, Pig, Zombie Grub, or Maynard pylon. Please enlighten me. Pig, if you had a pylon, what would it be?
I'm going to answer Maynard's one first.
Okay.
Maynard's pylon literally doesn't exist because that's nothing. What would my pylon be? I don't know. I guess my pylon would just literally be Sean Plott's face. And that's it.
There you go.
If it just looks like a kind of, but it looks a little bit wrong. There's like, it's a little bit like blurred, a bit bizarro world. You're like, oh, this is like a sad imitation of Day 9. That's my pylon right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be so cruel to yourself. Yourself's really awesome. I would say a no regret pylon, if I could make it for you real quick, no regret. It would be a pylon that is part of the wall in, because that's where he aims his banelings.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Next question.
Yeah, I like that.
From Foot ECU1. What are your favorite opponents to play against, pro or otherwise? Do you guys have any favorite opponents that you play? I know you're no longer pro level pick.
You know that guy you play on ladder and he's like talking shit. He's like, I got you. Like, fuck you. Like, you know, like there's just that one guy that's too fucking cocky on ladder and you play him in a tournament. You absolutely demolish him. That's the fucker. Those are the people I like. I don't have any specific names, but like I've had this happen before.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
For weirdness, I like playing Mio Maiko on the ladder. #1 Vietnamese player. He's been doing well in the Challenger down in my region, and I always enjoy feeling like I'm doing okay against him, and then just getting blindsided by the most wild, crazy, awesome move that I would never ever consider until I've watched the replay, and I go, oh, you can choose to do that. So he's like a real special experience to play against. Where I always learn some new strategic line I had never even considered when I play against Mio Maiko. So that's cool.
Cool.
I nicknamed him the Big Brain Zerg at Asian Games because he blew me away with his 2-base Spire against Nice. I don't even know. It was insane. It worked somehow too. I was like, what's going on?
He did like a something really aggressive, like an early pull into a 1.5 base Spire to me on ladder the other week.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with his Spires, but
yeah, like even if you defend it though, like you're like, oh, he's probably going up to 70 drones. I better like, start like doing this. And then he's like, he'll just stay on like 35 drones or 37 drones. He'll make so many mutas. It's so scary, and he'll use them really well. Mio Mike is just very, very cool and aggressive. Cool player, dude.
Cool. For me in StarCraft 2, I would say it was over a year ago that I played this one Terran. I think it was like a year and a half ago even. I played one Terran. And I was pretty good at the time, like Masters 1 Korea and stuff. And he 7-0'd me right in a row. Just kept queuing, kept getting him 7-0 with the same shit every time. But I learned a lot from playing against him. And so I appreciated that. Because, yeah, playing against the same guy and losing the same thing, you're going to eventually figure out how to beat that thing. And it was mind drops, and I was having a hard time before that, but he helped me out by taking all of my ladder points. It was crazy how much I dipped that day. All right, thank you for the question. Only a couple more questions here. From B. Mahicha123. I almost got into a car crash in Game 4 of Neeb vs. TUI. Was so worth it, though. It's not worth it. Don't get in a car crash. Be careful. What are some of the greatest games you recall casting? I remember SC vs. ST was maybe the most hyped up I've ever seen Artosis. That was a great one. I really enjoyed that. Do you guys have any favorite games that you've casted?
My brain's just focusing on like the one really fail cast. Was with when we got to cast Pro League and in China. Were you at that event, Dan? I feel like you were there.
Was I there? No, I wasn't. I wasn't at that one. I don't think.
Okay, you weren't at that one. Yeah, it was when we got to do Pro League, and I think Brendan was there at that one with us. But yeah, me and Nate got put on a PvP, and it was like Shanghai, and it was really hot, and I hadn't been playing Protoss for very long at that point, and we were casting SOS, and he was like proxying a Templar Archives to do a storm drop, and the whole cast was me and Nate just going like, why is the Templar Archives there? What's what? It was like there's like literally like 6 minutes until the storms were landing in the mineral line before we had any idea what was going on. And we're just like, yeah, we're not going to read Reddit after that spectacular cast. Me and Nate are just like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have cast that PvP together. I was meant to be the Protoss expert on that one, and yeah, so that was my not favorite game. I can't think. I've cast so many good games; they all kind of blur into one, right? It's hard to think of the one that stands out.
Yeah. I mean, Game 7s are always really fantastic. Anytime you hit a Game 7, it's just pure hype. It's nothing even matters at that point.
Yeah.
It's hard to name really specific games.
I like the ones with like a simple micro story in the final game. I like that.
Yeah, that can be really fun. A lot of tension with that. I guess the Neeb versus Rogue maxed out game from BlizzCon last year.
Oh, Mac Deeper.
I think it was me and Todd casting that, and I was just like, I love that game. That game was so sick. You have any no regret? Which PC rush was your favorite?
Yeah, I've been casting I haven't been casting very long at all. We're talking like 4 or 5 months, but I really liked I'm trying to remember if it was Mario versus Keen or I feel like it was Mario versus Keen with you. Like the problem is these series are I haven't been casting very long, so I don't have many games. But I remember Mario vs. Keen where Keen literally got robbed by Proxy Rexes. Those TVTs where he was looking like solid and it was like completely equal on Mario's front and winning. Like I thought that was really impressive. Zanster versus Mario was something I casted, and Zanster I lived with. So yeah, we were super fucking biased that cast. Everyone gave me shit for it, but totally fucking worth it. I would be biased again in a heartbeat because that was a sick series. Zanster looked so sick, even though he lost. And yeah, those are probably some of my favorite. Any cast with you and Nick, I enjoy. So they all kind of blur in together.
Thank you. All right, thanks for the question. From Bilbo, hey Pig, do you support any NRL team? And why are the Canberra Raiders the greatest in the world? Also, XXXX for life. VB is trash. What in the hell language was this in?
What was the name of the person who submitted that?
Bilbo.
Is that Rick? I don't know. I'm wondering. I'm trying to remember who I've been speaking to about NRL and mentioning that I haven't followed it since this is Australian football. Okay. One of the 3 kinds we play, not the most popular kind. But it's the one that's popular in my state. And the Canberra Raiders, I'm pretty sure, are a pretty trash team. But for some reason, when I was a little kid, when I actually followed the sport a little bit, I liked that team because they had one player who I saw get the ball and run past the whole team and score what you would call a touchdown in America, what we call a try, where you get the ball over the line and put it on the ground, except you don't dance afterwards. And you're not wearing a helmet and stuff. And VB sucks. Did they say at the end? VB is trash?
Yes.
VB is like our Budweiser, and yes, it is trash.
The beer. I thought he might be talking about VB beer. Yeah.
It's like kind of, yeah, I guess that's the best comparison. Or maybe it's more like a PBR. Pubs Blue Ribbon. Yeah, it's pretty low down there. Yeah, it sucks. I haven't watched NRL in over 10 years. I like AFL. I think AFL is the best Australian football. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you for the question. All right, last question from the Patreon supporters, and then we'll do just a couple from the regular chat. From Fear Dragon, and this is just for no regret. Since you have lived with so many pros, how often does the average pro player use the restroom? No specific names, please, so as not to out specific players as daily multi-poopers. Would that be an embarrassing thing? Here, I'll admit it. I go to the bathroom.
I don't think if someone multi-poops, I don't think that's like something we have to keep on the DL. Like if someone's outed as a multi-pooper, I don't think it changes anything. I've heard multi-pooping is actually healthier than like single pooping.
I think it is actually.
So, but I'm pretty sure I feel like the amount of times I've ran into someone else blocking a bathroom is like I can count on my hands. Like we have 2 bathrooms and there's only been like 1 or 2 times where I literally couldn't use it because both bathrooms are occupied. I think generally people use it, like it's as little as possible. I don't know how to answer this question. No one takes an insanely long time though. The one problem I have is with hurricane showering, the entire room is like there's water everywhere. Like there's water on the roof, water on the walls. Yeah. There's water everywhere because there's
people like that.
Yeah.
Do you think they're like they've watched cartoons of like wet dogs and they like think that's what you're meant to do? I always wonder if there's kids who just like their parents didn't train them, because I've had housemates like this where they clearly get out of the shower dripping wet and then they just like shake their body or something. And I'm like,
I don't know if it's like
raised by wolves. What is wrong with you?
I don't know if it's humidity or if if he's like spraying the walls and the roof or something. I don't even know. But like every time there's specific showers that do that.
Oh man.
All right. Well, thank you for the poop question. I think that is it for the Patreon ones. So we'll just grab a couple real quick out of the main Discord. Of course, check out our Pylon Show Discord. It's pretty active, and yeah, definitely do that. Let's jump into a couple questions. Okay. Question from 1,000 Hours. Health and Gaming. Euthermal is hospitalized for pneumonia the day after showing deep in a competitive series. Lenok discharges himself from the hospital to play in a tournament. Do you feel that there needs to be more support for professional players in these instances? If players are putting their lives at risk, their income is heavily dependent on the performance. Where does the responsibility for care fall? Tourney host, gaming union, like what? Yeah, this is actually a pretty decent question, I think. Like, because we have had this, right? Euthermal was really sick. We talked about that actually a little bit earlier. He had to go to the hospital for pneumonia, lost the tournament anyways. We just saw that with Lenok, who everyone was kind of talking up and saying this guy's really strong, got wiped because he had gallstones or whatever, and literally checked himself out of the hospital like 4 days early to play TY. So,
damn.
And yeah, so it's, I guess the question is just like, obviously these players feel that they have to go play, even though they're not feeling well at all. They're obviously in pain or very sick. And it's true, there is no fallback in this situation, right? Like Euthermal's sitting here. If he didn't get pneumonia in Austin, maybe he has a higher finish. He's top 8 right now, and he's just looking to a strong finish rather than not only a strong finish here to go to BlizzCon, but also other strong players not finishing as well, right? So it's a pretty fair question. What do you guys think about this?
So it was about kind of like who takes responsibility, right? Or like how do we create a safety net kind of
exactly
in the scenario? Yeah. So that's a tough question. I can't say I've thought it through too much. The discussion with Euthermal was people were like, yeah, well, if he doesn't have travel insurance, like he's gonna have to pay, a crazy amount of money for his hospital bill there in Austin. We had Rifkin's fantastic story where he didn't want to risk going to the US hospitals because of the bills.
Yeah.
He didn't have any travel insurance. Yeah. So he got on a plane with a Q-tip in his ear. It got wedged in even further because of the pressure. And then he had a few days of agony and deafness in one ear until he got it out. So it's kind of funny, right? Where it's like, I think a lot of us just don't even really think about it.
Yeah, I think that's the real problem. Like, yeah, I think players know that they're responsible for their own health and for their own well-being. And if you do have a problem internationally, that is your duty to, deal with it. I don't think players should feel like they were required to play. I think most tournaments would be pretty reasonable if you were genuinely sick or like genuinely injured or whatever. Like I don't think anyone's going to give you penalization for seeking medical assistance, but you definitely should come in more prepared as a player.
I think that's something where I think that I totally agree, Jake. And I think what we can do better is have some sort of overarching kind of protection for the players, right? Because if we think about this, what are we encouraging with any sport or competition? We're kind of encouraging young people to sacrifice a lot of other areas of their life and really focus on one thing and get incredibly good at it, right? And they're really focusing on that. And you see this with professional sports as well. People get all this money and have no idea how to use it, and they get these weird drug addictions. They go out partying because they don't have a lot of life experience and skills outside of that one sport they're really good at. And to some extent, it's the same in esports. So that's why we've seen in the last, 50 years, the last 30 years especially, there's been a lot of in mainstream sports like, okay, players are earning millions of dollars, and by the time they're retired, they've got none of it left. So these organizations come in and they try to educate players on not just how to act good in front of the camera, but also how to take care of their money and save and invest for their future. Often there'll be some sort of player union, which I imagine would have some sort of like, hey, you need to get travel insurance as part of your membership. We help you organize that to make sure you're covered overseas. So I think that's something which, like, as it gets bigger, will naturally come. And it'll happen in a Counter-Strike or, a Fortnite. I'm like, what's the biggest game right now? It'll happen in whatever the biggest game is with the most money at first. And it'll often really be catalyzed and sped up after there's a story of people's favorite pro players going through terrible shit, or making bad decisions or not being prepared for this stuff. And that's when there'll really be a fire lit under people's butt to go like, oh, we really need to help players out so they don't make these silly mistakes.
Yeah. I like what you said. The travel insurance, just get it. I mean, I feel like I only became adultish like 3 or 4 years ago, even though I'm 35 at this point. But like I started getting travel insurance every time myself or my family leaves the country that we live in, Korea, right? So that's definitely a worthwhile thing. And I think that we kind of talked about this before with salaries and stuff. This is kind of related to that, where I think that the industry has changed, and especially in Starcraft, you no longer are getting a big salary that you live off of, and then prize winnings are bonus. Some people treat the prize winnings as their salary, as the way that they make money, and for the top players, that can work. But realistically, the way to spread yourself a little bit more is like, if you're also streaming, for instance, right? If you have a solid income because you have a regular stream or something like that, then suddenly, if you don't do well in some tournaments, it's not like you're going to go hungry or something like that. So that might be something to consider as well.
I don't know. I think at this point we're talking about like unionizing players and stuff like that. I honestly think the push to unionize players would be like a great thing, but that'll be. I think this is like in the future. I think
it's far down the track for now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But I think we are going that way. Like it will happen. It's going to happen. It's pretty far down the road still. Once we have a union for players, like I think, like the biggest thing is salaries for players are grossly like misunderstood amongst a lot of the players. Like I have so many players coming in and out of the house, and obviously I can't talk about it, but some people are being like grossly underpaid, and they have no idea that they are. And they have like no experience managing like what their brand is worth, and the fact that they're associated with a team that's paying them so little it's affecting them for getting another offer. Like there's a lot of stuff like this that unions would really help players do, but obviously we're not in a time for that.
Not there yet. All right, thank you for that question. One more question here from the public Discord, and then I will let these guys go. From Coyote Creed, do any of you have a favorite grilled cheese sandwich recipe? I do. No. My wife makes these grilled cheese sandwiches where she like puts the cheese in, but there's also like some cayenne powder that she puts in it or something like that, and jalapenos. And it's so good.
Fiery cheese. That sounds delicious, man.
It's super good. What do you guys? You guys have one?
I don't know. Grilled cheese for me is just basic. Like you put cheese on bread and you grill it, and I don't know. I don't have any
You're
specific.
such a 22-year-old.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't do anything fancy to it. I'm not like smoking the cheese and marinating the meats. I just put it all
You
together.
got to come over to my house. I'll have my wife make this grilled cheese for you.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm waiting for the invite.
All right.
I had leftover pizza ingredients, but no pizza dough the other week, and I just made what was basically the best grilled cheese ever because I had like homemade pizza sauce and shit. But if you didn't have that, you just use tomato paste, right? Just a little bit of tomato paste, spread it on the bread. Obviously, you want to toast the bread slightly before you put it in so that it doesn't go soggy in the middle. Little bit of tomato paste, spicy salami, I like this idea with the jalapenos and the cayenne pepper because like this, I like to get the spiciest possible salami or pepperoni because that just gives it a bit of a kick. So then you've got kind of like the pizza base, you've got the salami, and then you've got the cheese, and that's all you need. Delicious.
Excellent. I love it. Sounds delicious, even though I don't eat meat. Okay. Well, I think that just about does it for us. I want to thank you guys for coming on. We'll jump to you in just a second. Thank you, the Patreon supporters. We can get that up there. If you guys want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com and check that out. Patreon.com/The Pylon Show. Of course, we have a website, thepylonshow.com. Our Matcherino is very cool. And let me check once again what the code was this week. If you want to go to matcherino.com/Pylon Show. Yes, cheese is the code this week. Very, very fitting considering all the proxies that we've been seeing in StarCraft 2. And of course, you can check out afkt.com where the code Pylon will get you 15% off. I have been drinking the tea very regularly. I really, really like it and definitely suggest it. You can purchase and give a try to. So yeah, big shout out to Cobra behind the scenes, the man making the show happen. And of course, Alisaunder helped us out with the show notes that are fantastic. You can check those out. Just do like show notes in the chat to the bot, and it'll give you links to everything we talked about, basically. And so for you guys, I know that you're both doing Montreal this coming weekend, but what else is going on for you, No Regret? You have anything you want to plug that's coming up?
I mean, with Montreal and me being in Canada, I'm not able to do any of the tournaments. I do like anonymous other stuff, but I don't know, just watch the team house. The next year's plans are going to be really big, and yeah, that's probably about it. You should follow me on Twitter for all that stuff. That's pretty much where I use to outlet whatever I'm doing. And that's at On Fire No Regret.
Great. And anything from you, Pig?
I'm just streaming all the time. So I've got a brief little vacation right after Montreal. So I'm not going to be back for another week and a half, but then back to the regular grind. So really looking forward to that. And yeah, just going to kind of keep the regular content. But I've got a special tournament, which I'll be getting the matches going. So late September, keep your eyes open. We're going to be getting some top pro gamers to play every race against each other, playing every race. And there's going to be some really silly one-sided matches, and there's going to be some amazing cheesy matches and some close matches. And we're going to find out who's actually the best at playing all three races, which is a question which people ask. So this is one of those novelty curiosity tournaments where I think we're going to find out a bit about the players off races and how they play, and it should be a lot of fun. So I don't want to give out the name of the tournament or anything, but that's going to be awesome. So keep your eyes open on that. We'll have a proper announcement for that in a week or two when the matches start going live.
I love that idea because I can just already feel the drama brewing because there'll be some sort of pattern. Like off-race Zerg does too well or something, right?
Yeah,
and then
of course.
The trash talk will be real at that point. So it's like, yeah, didn't you see all the off-race Zerg players want, or the Protoss, or whatever.
Everyone just made 3 Stargates and made a lot of oracles. Like, this is broken again,
Yeah. All right, excellent. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. I know you're both very busy. Sorry to keep you guys for so long. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I believe Jeff will be back next week, and we will see you next week with the Pylon Show once again. Thank you for watching.